sometimes, and I know this is on the air, sometimes you can be wrong. It's possible.
Not me.
I wasn't being with you specifically. Yeah.
Jordan Poole? Really? Jordan Poole on a team with that many shooters, on a team with the greatest shooter ever in the history of the NBA. Jordan Poole pulls up with a 28-footer. By the way, with a dozen seconds left on the clock to work something out, Jordan Poole.
I believe he hit some of those earlier. So, I mean, if you're on on that team, you got to be able to hit a 3-pointer.
28-footer. He had 4 feet of room ahead of him. Take a step up, young man.
I'm glad he took the shot.
I mean, I'm sure you are, as a not Lakers but anti-Steph guy.
Exactly.
Jordan
Poole. I was
Poole.
kind of rooting for the Lakers. I watched the first half yesterday and the second half this morning. I just, I try to get past some things, but
I stayed up way too late watching that game. But it was in fairness, it was a really good game.
LeBron held the ball way too long, and I know Van Gundy was talking about it. Just go in and make a shot and make the game a little more out of reach. Don't leave it a 3-point game because you take the shot clock all the way down and then miss a 3-pointer. I mean, you don't do that.
Jordan Poole. Like, I probably wouldn't be so upset if he'd have taken 2 steps, just put the ball on the ground and take a step forward. You're 30 feet out, man. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate. Happy Wednesday. The Lake Show steal home court advantage away from the Dubs by going into San Fran last night and having Jordan Poole brick a 28-footer with 10 seconds left to play. And the Lake Show's up one. Golden State. The first loss in the history of the franchise when the team made 15 or more 3-pointers. They made 21 trays and lost the game.
You know what made the difference? In the first half, the Lakers weren't hitting their threes, but they were doing everything else right. They were playing good defense. They were getting to the free throw line a bunch. In the second half, especially the beginning of the third quarter, they started nailing some threes. And that made it, they were up by what, like 14, I think, at one point?
Yeah, I think it got to 15 at one point.
So and that's not enough against a 3-point dominant shooting team like Golden State. The problem is, I don't know that the Lakers can sustain this kind of defense because they look tired in the fourth quarter. They didn't look like they looked in the first quarter when, and by the way, when Steph and Clay get those screens, just a one-man screen and they pop around the end, that is so pretty. I hate that, but that is a beautiful thing. It
really is, man. It really is.
I mean, and they do that to perfection. And
I can't stand them, but Dre does it with excellence as well. I mean, it's impossible. It's impossible to guard. All that being said, Lonzo, I don't know if you know this. Anthony Davis can still hoop a little bit.
Until the end when he was tired. He plays some killer defense too, but he looked winded at the end of that game.
AD went off with a 30-23-5-4 stat line. 30 points, 23 rebounds. young guns out there, you young bucks listening to the program, listen to Uncle Rob, and I'm going to suspect Uncle Zoe is going to agree with me on this. If you want to be a hooper on a team that wins, learn to work the glass like AD did last night. Learn to be a bottle of Windex and just clean the glass up over and over. Anthony Davis won the Lakers that game last night. Not because of the 30 points, although obviously that was big. Anthony Davis won the Lake Show that game last night with 23 rebounds. That is a ridiculous amount. That is 46 points of swing at the minimum, right? Between second chance opportunities for your squad and taking away second chance opportunities from theirs, there is 46 points of difference in the game just off of the glass. And then, oh, by the way, he pitched in 30 as well. LeBron is still LeBron, though, as Zoe pointed out, and I think accurately, even with a decently long rest in that game last night, LeBron looked gassed down the stretch. So it's going to be a long series, though. I still think this series has got a lot of potential to be very good.
Also, Draymond's going to flame out. I mean, he's going – why was he still in that game? He was still talking stuff after getting teched. It's like, throw him out of the game. Nobody else can do what he did last night, getting in the ref's face and doing that much and not get tossed.
I do wish that there was a little less Draymond Green in my life.
He's going to spontaneously combust.
But that, I mean, listen, Zoe, you and I like wrestling. That's his gimmick, dude. That's his character.
I know, but I just want referees to be consistent. There's some other guys that do half of that and they're out of the game. Why does he get away with what he did last night?
So I think in a series like
why don't they mic him up? I want to hear what he's saying.
I don't necessarily believe, although I admit it's a possibility, after the Tim Donaghy situation a few years back, I don't necessarily believe that the NBA is in the business of fixing games the way that phrase is traditionally used.
All right. Keegan on the stream says Draymond Green is who Dylan Brooks thinks he is.
We're going to be talking about Dylan Brooks in a minute, Jack.
You mean unemployed?
Yup. I don't think the NBA is in the business of fixing games the way that phrase is traditionally used. But I do think that it is implied by the league that they want these series to be as good as they possibly can, right? I think it's implied by the league that they would love Lakers Warriors to go a 7. Of course they would. Better television numbers would be more revenue down the road. Draymond Green is a guy that gets you to watch the same way that we tune in for the bad guys in wrestling. We all got our favorite good guys for sure, but if we're being honest with each other, we tune in for the heels. We tune in for the bad guys. Can't have great faces without great heels. And I think Draymond gets a little bit of flexibility with his behavior that a lot of other NBA players do not get, because there's going to be a lot of us tuning in to watch Draymond lose. There's going to be a lot of people tuning in to see what ridiculous ass thing Draymond does next. And love him or hate him, Draymond's a pretty good basketball player. He is a critical component to the Golden State Warriors. if Draymond Green is bounced from a game, the Dubs' odds to win that game go down dramatically, significantly. And so I think there is not necessarily a directive from the NBA, but I think it is understood that a guy like Draymond Green is good for ratings and he's good for the Warriors' opportunity to win. Nielsen released some sports ratings a couple of days ago. The Golden State Warriors versus Sacramento Kings Game 7, Lonzo, was the most watched non-NBA Finals playoff game since like 97 or something like that. Part of that had to be because of Draymond versus old chest stomp victim number one, Sabonis, right? Part of that was after the stomp and after the suspension, a good chunk of people would have tuned in just to see if it was going to go any further off the rails than it did. Another good chunk of that was, as Lonzo has written on his scoreboard behind him, Lakers 1, Binky 0. People want to see dynasties get trashed, man. The team that has the most bandwagon fans is the team that is the top. But the team that gets thrashed the most is also the team that's at the top. People want to see the Dubs lose. So they tuned into that Game 7 when Steph was on the brink of elimination to an upstart Sacktown team just to see if it happened. Part of that is the Draymond Green effect. So yes, Draymond eats a T because Draymond thought that he was getting hit with a moving screen, right? He got called for a personal foul. He got called for a foul pushing through a screen. He said it was a moving screen. And honestly, his argument wasn't bad. It kind of was. It wasn't the worst I've ever seen, but it was a bit of a moving screen. But Draymond, because he's, Draymond.
Yeah, let it go after. I mean, just still fighting for that the entire time. There's other basketball to be played. I mean, I get being passionate about it in the moment, but dude did not shut up the rest of the game about that.
So I used to coach Little League, and I used to tell the kids that I coached. So I coached up through 8th grade, I think. Baseball, basketball, whatever. I used to tell the kids, do not argue with referees. Don't argue with refs. Because even if you're right, Lonzo, you ever seen a referee call a foul and then change his mind?
No.
And it turns out they don't have instant replay technology at the YMCA. So don't argue with the refs. That's my job.
All right. I got an example. Little League World Series for softball. The daughter is there. Ump makes a bad call, and all the moms, not all of a good portion of the moms and dads start cussing at the referee. And I will never forget this quote, even though it was like 10 years ago. We rednecks, that's how we act. And I leaned over to Cameron and said, see, this is how you should not act. Watch what happens. And then suddenly the calls started going the other team's way the rest of the way. And every time there was a questionable call, the umpire would just turn around and look at those rednecks, as they labeled themselves, as saying, this is your fault.
For the record, I've over the years, I have coached in different places. I coached in Jacksonville. I coached in Destin, Fort Walton Beach. I coached in Pensacola. I've coached in all types of different, shall we say, communities. I will say this. One thing that brings everybody together, rednecks, 1%ers, the hood, one thing that brings us all together, we all hate a basketball referee, don't we? We all hate a basketball referee.
See, I mean, they're just people as far as
until they put on the stripes. Then they're a monster.
I do hate bad calls, but I'm not going to be adamant and yell and scream and do things that might affect the rest of the game, because I also know they're people. And if you press them, things are probably not going to go your way.
So
even though they're not supposed to do that, doesn't mean they won't. Draymond just needs to stop, find your place, stop, get back in the game and do your thing. But I guess that is his thing, isn't it?
It is. I tell my kids when I coach, and I'll probably get back into it here sooner rather than later, but I tell my kids when I coach, do not argue with the refs. It is not your job, and you as a player will never get a referee to change his mind. When the ref puts that hand up and calls a foul, it ain't coming back down, Jack, till he signals to the scorer's table, I got a personal foul, 32 white. It's not going to change, all right?
Unfortunately, even all the way up to the professional level, calls are argued, especially in the NBA. There's a whole lot of getting in the referee's face. It's not just Draymond, as if that's going to change anything.
And that's the lesson. Don't waste your breath, because the only thing it can do is get worse, right? The only thing it can do is get worse. You're never going to have a ref have a foul argued to him and then go, "You're right, my bad." Right? That's my bad. I missed that call. Now, you might have one look at you and go, as I have in the past, "Hey, man, I blew it. That's my bad. You're right. I blew that call. It's my bad."
And then that thing that's never supposed to happen, that makeup call. It might be on its way.
If you're lucky. But the best you're going to get is an apology and "I blew that call." It's not going to change it, right? So all you're going to do if you're Draymond Green is put the refs on temper tantrum watch and get yourself teed up and create a situation where now you can't be Draymond the rest of the game, right? The rest of the game, listen, if you're the Dubs, you've built your offense around Draymond, aggravating the hell out of guys underneath so they break, they make mental mistakes, they lose their composure. That's Draymond's game. But if you already got teed up, my man, you can't risk getting caught down there. That kind of crap's got to stop. And that is part of the reason, not the only reason, part of the reason the Lakers stole home court and are up 1-0 with one left to play in Golden State before they head back to LA. We're going to break that game down further. Heat Knicks last night. New York goes level. They're 1-1 heading back to Miami for the next 3. Jimmy Butler unavailable, and that 50 spot from Jimmy Buckets was sorely missed. The Heat still gave him a game last night. Bam Adebayo, solid underneath. Just not good enough. So we're going to talk some NBA playoffs, particularly because I'm very curious to see if James Harden can repeat what he did in Game 1 for Philly. Also in the NBA, Joel Embiid is your 2023 NBA MVP. Shouldn't be, but he is. We'll come back to that later on the show. Plenty of other stuff I need to get into. We got an update from Shane Beamer on an injury to a player expected to be a primary contributor for the Gamecocks offense this year. He will be missing at least part of the start of the season. Tell you who that is and what that injury is coming up later on in the show. Speaking of television ratings, Nielsen has made some adjustments to the television ratings of the Super Bowl. Where does it check in all time? We're going to talk about that later on in the show and plenty more. I am Rob Brown. He is the great one, Lonzo. And ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to The Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. He wants to break 3. All right, welcome in, everybody. Good to see you guys. Thanks for coming to hang out with us today. I learned from Draymond that the way to defeat a moving screen is to kick the guy in the junk. You will get through the screen. That is correct.
And that guy will think twice about doing it next time, you know.
My Uncle Mike was the master of the old love tap. coming back from that. All right, excuse me, guys. We'll be back in 20 seconds.
No, Kevin, they would have lost if the MVP Austin Reeves wasn't playing. I know, Keegan. And that is the eve of Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
When you're an innovative business, every blinking cursor, every blank page is an opportunity. What will you do with it? Will you make something better or create something new? Our Dell technology will provide you with tools and expertise to do incredible
Yay. Everyone can stare at me yawning.
There's an innovator in all of us. For advice on smart PCs powered by Intel V Pros built for business.
So if you see me limping, you know that my leg is hurt really bad. It has been for weeks. And I'm finally going to have to go to the doctor. I was hoping it would just get better because I'm a guy and you kind of hope things just get better. All the symptoms point at meniscus. We'll see. Hopefully it doesn't require surgery. To each his own, Kevin. I get it, James, but I'm just going for the soundtrack. It is painful, Bubba. I'm not sleeping well. I'm gonna reach the point where I'm like really angry or really silly, but it might happen soon. I can't stop yawning. Person who I know who you are. But because nasal passages are no, I can't stop yawning because Kevin says I nose whistle and I'm afraid to breathe through my nose. So it's all Kevin's fault, as are most things. Thanks, Kevin.
Day 2 of no energy drinks. Not going great.
I think it's awesome. I think you got this.
I tried one of those Celsiuses. Texter said, fan, I spent 5 years as an intramural umpire for softball in college, had 0 ejections that whole time. We were told not to change the call, but every once in a while to maybe acknowledge that we messed up a call later on. Yeah, again, you're the best you're going to do, and we won't spend any more time on this, but the best you're going to do if you're Draymond is get a ref go, you're right, I blew it, dude. My bad. Like, if you're fortunate, maybe you get a makeup call later. But here's the reality. You still got a foul on you. You see what I'm saying? You still got that foul's not going away. All you're risking is making it worse. Stop. Young guns out there. Don't do it. It's a waste of breath, a waste of time, and the only outcome is you make it worse.
In Draymond's case, I get what he's doing. There's some psychology underneath. What you're doing is you're drawing attention to for the referee to look out for the thing that you say is happening. And you hope that later on, maybe not even in this game, but maybe next game, that referee will look and see a moving screen and call it.
Yeah.
I mean, so I get it. It's just, you got to stop at some point.
And listen, I think it's absolutely fine to go, hey, Mr. Ref, heads up, he's swinging a bow at me. Hey, Mr. Ref, heads up, when he comes into the paint, he's putting the shoulder down, right? That's one thing. But to roll over and go like Draymond did, full verbal assaults, getting you nowhere. All right. Joel Embiid finished second in the MVP voting in 2020-2021. He finished second in the MVP voting in 2021-2022. This year, he is the MVP. Joel Embiid said he got frustrated for not being the guy. Joel Embiid actively campaigned to be named the NBA's MVP, and those efforts have paid off. He just edged out Nikola Jokic, who won the past 2 MVPs and was trying to become just the 4th player in NBA history to win 3. Joel Embiid said, quote, "I don't even know where to start. It's been a long time coming, a lot of hard work. I've been through a lot. I'm not just talking about basketball. I'm talking about everything in life. You know my story. You know where I come from, how I got here, and what it took for me to be here. So it feels good. I don't know what to say. It is amazing." Jokic finished second, as we mentioned. Milwaukee's Giannis Antetokounmpo finished third. Embiid received 73 first-place votes. Nikola Jokic, 15. Antetokounmpo, 12. Joel Embiid is an absolute G, and nobody's going to argue with that. Had one of the best seasons in his career this year. Career high in points per game at 33.1, number 1 in the league. Career high in field goal percentage, shot just a tick under 55%. He also averaged 10.5 boards, 4.2 assists, 1.7 blocks, and a steal a game, and shot 85.7% from the charity stripe this year. He led the Sixers to be the number 3 offense in the league. He was also a force on defense. They were the number 8 defensive team in the league. They were one of 3 teams in the top 10 in both categories. Joel Embiid was a monster this year. I still think Nikola Jokic was the MVP. Jamal Murray is very good, without a doubt. But you saw what the 76ers could do without Joel Embiid in game 1 against the Heat. Celtics. You saw what, when he shows up, James Harden can do on that team. Joel Embiid is a beast. And anybody who tells you anything to the contrary is just wrong. But the 76ers without Joel Embiid, while they're probably not 54-28, are probably like 47 wins, 46 wins. They're still very good. The Nuggets were the best team in their conference this year. And it was because of Nikola Jokic.
You think this is fatigue? This is the same thing that LeBron goes through, that Jordan went through, that some of the better players go through, that eventually they go, yeah, he can win it every year. We're going to give it to somebody else. Or does it have to do with a lot of the grumbling that was heard the last couple of years when Jokic won?
I think it's both. I think that to give Nikola Jokic his 3rd consecutive MVP award elevates him into a category that is the definition of elite.
Just looked it up. LeBron has only won 3.
Correct.
So you put him in there with him. What's wrong with that? If he deserves to win it, he should win it.
I agree. I think there's a lot of people who look at the way that Nikola Jokic plays basketball. There are only 3 NBA players in history that have back-to-back MVP awards. Bill Russell did it in 60 through 63. Wilt the Stilt did it in 65 through 68. And Larry Bird did it 83 through 86. That's it. That's the list. I think there's because of the style of ball he plays, a little bit of hesitancy to put Nikola Jokic into one of the most elite categories of players out there. Jordan's not on this list. Kobe's not on this list. Michael's not on this list. Magic's not on this list. When we list GOAT candidates in the NBA. There's only so many, and there's only 3 of them on this list. More of them aren't than are. And I think there's a lot of hesitancy to have given Nikola Jokic this award because you're effectively saying you're in the category with Russell, Chamberlain, and Bird, a category that Kobe's not in, Michael's not in, LeBron's not in. So I didn't think they wanted to do that. I think the other aspect of it was, aside from voter fatigue, which I think is absolutely a big part of it, how many years can we say that one guy is the most important guy in the league? The answer is apparently twice. You can do it twice, not 3. So I think there's fatigue, but I think the other aspect of it is, even if he was not as valuable to the Sixers as Nikolai was to the Nuggets, Joel Embiid is a guy who's been very close multiple times. And I think that because he had a career year, a really good year, this was kind of a reward for that, right? Like, we know you've gotten close. We know you've been knocking on the door. And in back-to-back years where you were as close as possible without winning it, you came out, you got better, you had a career year and a handful of stats. We feel like you should be rewarded for that. And so they rewarded him. I think Nikola Jokic is the most important player in basketball. Again, would the 76ers be as good without Joel Embiid? No, he's a 30-point-a-game guy. 30-point-a-game guy. But you can run the 76ers offense without him. Joel Embiid shot 55% from the floor. Nikola Jokic shot 63.2%. If I told you that your team had a 3-point shooter, Lonzo, that sniped at 40%, you'd be pretty damn happy with that.
It's not bad.
Nikola Jokic went 38.3% from deep. He's a 7-footer. 38% from deep. He averaged 12 boards a game. He averaged 10 assists a game. My man was a triple-double a night guy. That's how good he was. He averaged a triple-double per night. He also threw in 1.3 steals and 1 block a game. So everything, with the exception of PPG, that Joel Embiid did, Nikola Jokic did better and with less talent around him. I appreciate Joel Embiid's season. I think he absolutely deserves to be honored for the season that he just had. To pretend like he was more valuable than Nikola Jokic to the Philadelphia 76ers, just to either A, prevent Jokic's name from being entered with Russell, Wilt, and Larry's, or B, because, we don't really do that. You should. When a guy earns it, you should. I got a real problem with this. Nikola Jokic was more important to the Nuggets than Joel Embiid was, despite how incredibly talented he is to the 76ers. The only thing that Embiid did better was points per game. But when you got a guy who goes triple-double every night and carries his team to the Western Conference's #1 seed, a seed they would be nowhere near without him, that argument's over to me. To me, it feels like we know exactly who that guy is. Let's take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute. Got a few more stories I want to bounce through here in the opening hour of the show. Had a couple of games last night, got a couple more coming up tonight. We're going to keep breaking down the NBA's postseason. I've got some MLB stories to get into as well. We're locked and loaded on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
Homers in consecutive innings as the Orioles beat the Royals 11-7 in Kansas City. Mountcastle had 5 RBI. Adley Rutschman had 4 hits and drove a run. The Orioles have wins in 16 of their last 20. The Braves shut out the Marlins 6-0 Tuesday. Bryce Elder outpitched NL Cy Young Award winner Sandy.
Quality of life and providing much needed relief for chronic joint pain, but not just providing that relief, it's doing it in the most non-invasive way possible using regenerative treatments from your body's own natural biologics. Where's your joint pain? Is it in your knees, hips, shoulders, your back? Well, QC Kinetics concentrates these impactful treatments right at the source of your pain, directly applying healing properties where you need them the most, and best of all, you walk into the office and right out after treatment. No surgery, no downtime, and patients are raving about the results. So what does living life to the fullest look like for you? Finally being able to play golf, hike, walk your dog, enjoy time with your family, whatever it is, don't wait one more day. Get started today with a call to QC Kinetics for your complimentary consultation at 864-448-3772 in Greenville and Asheville. 864-448-3772. If you're hired.
Went to jump on Redfall yesterday and found out my headset is fried.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah, so I had to go get a cheap one.
You you know what game I beat last night?
So you beat it. I saw you were playing
I
for a
played
while.
it for a while.
Yeah.
I had both computers going with hockey and basketball, and I finally beat Pro Pressure Washer Simulator.
So Redfall is good so far. It's not great.
Yeah.
A lot of people are slamming it. But there's something to be said about shooting a vampire and getting it to the point where you can stab it with a stake and watch it disintegrate. I don't recall ever playing a game where I could do that. So that's fun. So Cameron and I are playing it together. We're having.
Wonder if I can play
fun.
multiplayer on the cloud.
Should be able to. I'm trying to figure out why it's. I mean, it's not an ugly game. I don't think it's look at the vistas type thing.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they made the sun go dark, so most of it's in the dark. I mean, you got to use a lot of flashlight, unless you're indoors and there's a lot of. I've been finding a ton of guns, different, really cool guns, including UV guns. And UV guns obviously will hurt the vampires. There's red mist all over the place, and you got to figure out a way to turn on UV lights that will get rid of the red mist. And there are also cultists who are just regular human beings who are trying to get at you. Right now, it's too easy. But I'm sure it'll get more complicated. We haven't fought a boss yet. So.
I like a spot where an FPS crosses over with a fantasy or horror game.
Well, the whole premise is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but it's a game you could jump in and out of too.
Well, so
and you don't need to know a whole lot other than, okay, here's a mission. Let's go kill vampires.
Is it a Game Pass game?
Yes.
If I can multiplayer, I'll jump in with you guys. If y'all are playing.
Oh, probably.
Courtney leaves today for the Bahamas, so I got nothing but golf, D&D, and video games.
My only problem is from wearing headphones here, the top of my head hurts, so I can only handle my
Get you
headset for so long.
some dangly ones.
Yeah, but they don't have it's not the same immersion either. I mean, it's good to be able to hear things
use-
creeping up behind
I
you. Or
use
something.
in-ears for the Saturday show, and I'm thinking about getting a pair of in-ears for in here. Like they're like stage monitor.
No, I know what you're talking about.
Trey said, "Hey Lonzo, I think Carlos with a K is going to watch The Princess Bride and give it a review on Thursday." I don't care about that. The only problem I have with this is that he hasn't seen it yet.
Neither has T2. We keep trying. So that's why he's probably bringing it up because T2 has not watched it. So
You know, I'm not a you must like what I like guy.
really,
Yeah, no, I'm not.
You're not.
I'm a you should like what I like guy, but not a you must like what I like guy. But there are certain features in American pop culture that it's not so much why haven't you watched it as how have you gotten, and I know Carlos with a K and T2 are both a little bit younger than me, not much, but a little bit, but how have you made it this long without seeing it? How have you not had a woman in your life say, I want you to watch this movie with me? How have you not been flipping channels and come across Andre the Bleeping Giant and went, what's all this about?
I have no excuse for T2, but Carlos with a K was in the military. He's got a master's. He works like at 5 different jobs. So he's a real busy guy, and he's a sports guy. Okay, so I get why maybe
He's
he
a
has
sports guy.
yeah, not just a sports guy, but a sports guy.
Am I a sports guy?
No, because you have other interests.
Oh.
You know, some people are so focused. T1 is kind of just a sports guy. That's it. It's all sports all the time, nothing else. There's no other extracurricular. It's all, this is on, I need to watch this. This is on, I need to, all sports. There are people like that, just like there's some people like that with politics. That's
a sports guy.
Yes, a sports guy, not just a sports guy.
So I'm just a sports guy. Am I a sports guy?
Yeah, you're definitely a sports guy.
I'm a sports guy.
But
you're
not
a sports guy.
You're more of an all-around guy. I mean, you're like me. You have other interests other than just sports.
I mean, I'm well-rounded, not just physically.
Sturdy,
not just physically.
So I would say
I would have assumed I was a sports guy.
Your interests are, you're almost, but because you play video games and play D&D and you watch movies and things like that, you can't be a true sports guy. A true sports guy, there's nothing else but sports.
Okay. All right.
And Carlos, from my brief interactions with him, seems to be a sports guy. That's it.
I mean, I think you gotta be in the role that he's in, right? Like, I suspect I've told the fiance this before. Like, when we started dating, I said, however much you think is a lot of sports, I need you to triple that. And that's how much sports I watch. And to this day, 3 years in, she's like, you do too much sports. And I'm like, I don't think I do. I think I do a lot. I'm not arguing I don't do more than other, regular dudes do. But I think if you get to the point where you're in the NYC, if you're working on nationally syndicated sports programs, you kind of got to be a sports guy. Now, the question for you, Zoe, is, can I become a sports guy, or do you just have to be a sports guy?
I think you have to be myopic to a certain degree to be just a sports guy. Last time I talked to Carlos was around the NCAA tournament, and he was telling me how he recorded like every game and then he was going to go back and watch every game and cut audio from every single game. I mean, so that's what he's doing. His entire life interests are sports. I think it will be, can you put aside all your other interests and only concentrate on sports?
It depends on what the paycheck looks like, I suppose.
Even with the paycheck, I think you carve out time to do some other things. Do you put your guitar away forever?
Nah.
See, that's the thing. If you're a sports guy, the guitar doesn't exist unless it has to do with bumper music.
Okay, fair enough. I respect that.
And there's nothing wrong with being that guy, but the fact that he's willing to branch out and watch a classic. Speaking of that classic,
I just don't understand how you have avoided it to this point.
Well,
like even if you're a sports guy,
if you're surrounded by other people who don't watch it or haven't watched it, then maybe that's why.
You can't be surrounded by people who haven't watched it. I like the list of people who haven't watched it isn't that big.
All right, Carlos is being a sellout. I got to text him. I'm gonna you know what I'm gonna text him right now.
And tell them what? Don't watch it.
No.
No.
Don't be a sellout and eat Duke's mayonnaise. Don't be a sellout.
Oh, you're mad about that.
Yeah, don't be a sellout. I am texting him.
You're fine with my man putting 3.5 hours into The Princess Bride. You're gonna draw the line at don't try mayo. Got it.
I literally am texting him right now.
I wasn't thinking you weren't. All right. Let me get a couple of stories in here before we get to the end of this hour. We'll finish up with some basketball thoughts here. The Memphis Grizzlies yesterday. Let me set up a scenario for you. This is one that many, not all of, but many of us are going to be familiar with. Fellas, if you've ever walked into a bar and a pretty girl caught your eye, and you walked across the bar and you decided to summon the fortitude in order to have a conversation with this young lady. And you walk up to her and you introduce yourself. Hi, my name's Rob. I saw you from across the bar. I just wanted to say hello and see if maybe I could buy you a drink. Now, there's 3 ways that conversation goes. The great way is she goes, yeah, I'll have a drink with you. That's phenomenal. The second way the conversation goes is she goes, I appreciate the offer, but not right now because I have a boyfriend. I'm here with the girls. I just got out of a relationship. I'm not interested. You're not my type, whatever. That's all well and good. But the third way that this conversation goes is you get the old, my man, I wouldn't have a drink with you if you were the last man on the face of the planet. I would not get with you under any circumstances, end quote. Welcome to the life, ladies and gentlemen, of Dylan Brooks. Now, you'll remember Dylan Brooks. He's been in the news a couple of times the last few weeks. Notably, when he said that he didn't mind popping Braun in the Lil Bronze because he's old. I got no problem hanging with him because he's old. You'll remember Dylan Brooks from poking the bear and handed out under the belt shots, etc., etc. You'll remember Dylan Brooks talking a massive amount of boat during the Grizz opening round series with the Lakers. But you will only be able to remember Dylan Brooks in his last series with the Memphis Grizzlies because he will no longer be with the Memphis Grizzlies. And according to the report that was put out yesterday by Shams and Co., according to the report, Brooks' showing in the Grizzlies' first round series was a, quote, breaking point. And the Grizz have said that they will not be bringing back Dylan Brooks, quote, under any circumstances, end quote. You know, it's one thing when you get rejected, Lonzo, and you get told now's not the right time. It's not a good fit at this moment. I'm going through some stuff. Just got out of a relationship. I'm in a relationship. It's girls' night. I can't really go out with any fellas. It's one thing to get told that. You can walk away from that and be okay, right? You can walk away from that and go, you know what? I shot my shot. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott. You can walk away from that and be okay. You can't walk away and be okay when she looks you in the face and goes, there is no way on this green earth that any part of you is going around any part of me. Not happening, dude. Not under any circumstances. Which means that the last scene of Dylan Brooks as a Memphis Grizzly is going to be walking away from the arena where LeBron James just kicked his ass. You know, the guy he doesn't respect because, quote, he's old, end quote. The last scene of Dylan Brooks as a Memphis Grizzly we're going to see is him walking out from the arena, avoiding the media who would have called him out on his smack talk he didn't back up, and wearing a big necklace that said DB for Dylan Brooks or something else.
Yeah. Okay. So as far as Dylan goes, will we see him in the NBA ever again? And if not, did he learn something? Did he learn a lesson? Did he learn that don't talk it if you can't walk it? He could not back it up. And don't come at the king. You see what happens, even in Memphis.
My man, if you come at the king, you best not miss. And you miss, bro. Not only did you lead the league in technical fouls this year, not only did you get bounced for that altercation with Donovan Mitchell back in February. You remember what he did to Donovan Mitchell by chance? He tapped him in the boys. Then he did it again against Braun. But on top of that, in that game 3 win, you know, the game where he hit LeBron below the belt? He got ejected with a flagrant 2. He finished the game with 7 points on 3 of 13 from the floor in 19 minutes. He shot around 31% in that series. He finished the year averaging 14.3, 3.3 on the glass, 2.6 assists, a steal in 30 minutes of playtime per game. Dude just got told by the Grizz there is no way under any scenario that you and me are ever going to be a thing. Tail tucked, my dude. I would advise maybe go into one of Aaron Rodgers' Shires and Mushrooms retreats and finding yourself a little bit, guy, because this ain't it.
Or learn currency exchange rates when you head to Europe, because that's probably where you're going.
Yeah. Trevor Bauer found himself in a pro league in Japan. Maybe there's something for you, DB. Emphasis on the D and the B. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a little break. When we come back, our numero dos of the Rob Brown Show rolls on. I am Rob Brown. That's the great one, Lonzo. And you are listening to the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Carlos hasn't responded back, so he's probably looking at it going, what is this? Which means he never intended to eat Duke's Mayo in the first place. I told him not to bow to the cult of Duke's Mayo. Steven, mayonnaise is mayonnaise, dude. When I'm pressed, you gotta try my mayonnaise. You gotta try my mayonnaise. It's creepy, okay? You guys are creepy with that stuff. And I've had Duke's before. It's not that big of a deal. It's just mayonnaise. It's just mayonnaise. Hey, you can bow to the cult. I don't fear them. So, I mean, I refuse to be forced into liking something I don't care about. There is no brand of mayo that I go, no, I can't. That's bad mayonnaise. There's no brand of mayo that go, if that's not on my sandwich, I don't want a sandwich. It's mayonnaise, people. No, it's because it's made around the corner. Stop your regionalism or whatever that is.
The lessons online and in the app make it easy to learn from pretty much anywhere. University studies have shown that using Babbel for 15 hours is equivalent to a semester of college Spanish. If you want to learn
Kevin, stop, dude.
no better
I mean, for the most part, you're pretty funny, but when you start doing stuff like that,
If you go to a sandwich bar,
I'm gonna have to mark you. You don't want me to mark you.
if you go to a sandwich bar and your only options
What's
are
a sandwich
a
bar?
sandwich bar,
Give me an example of a sandwich bar.
Subway,
That's
it's a sandwich bar.
no, it's
If you go to a sandwich shop,
thank you. Hey,
don't
you
be a
go
stickler for
places
weird
that I
stuff.
don't go to, so there might actually be a sandwich bar. I just wanted to know what made it a bar.
If you go
That's
to a
all.
sandwich shop,
Okay.
you get to the end, and you've made the sandwich of your choice that you like mayo on, and they say Miracle Whip or Dukes.
They don't.
If they did, it's a hypothetical.
Oh, okay.
If they say Miracle Whip or Dukes, what are you going with?
Miracle Whip.
You're a monster. You're a monster.
Okay. See, this is the same arguments that you have with toilet paper and stuff. There's passion where there doesn't need to be. Dude, it's mayonnaise. It's misplaced passion. It really is.
If you think that Miracle Whip is better than
Here's what I
Dude.
don't think. I don't sit around and think, I wonder what the best mayonnaise is. Mayonnaise is not there to dominate the sandwich. It's there to accent what's on the sandwich. If the mayonnaise takes away from the flavor of the sandwich, it's not a good sandwich, or they put way too much mayo on it. Condiments are not there to be the flavor of the sandwich or whatever. They're there to accent the flavor of what's on the sandwich. I don't get the reference, but okay, Hudson. Rob will get the reference, but he's still upset about the mayonnaise, so he's not looking
I'm
at it.
genuinely shocked.
I don't. Yeah, I'm shocked that you've been sucked into this stuff.
Miracle Whip is trash.
No,
It's trash.
it's not.
It is.
You know what it
trash.
is? It's mayonnaise.
No, it's not.
It's
not.
mayonnaise. This all be this.
It's
You know what
all
this stems back from?
disguised.
This stems back from. If Dukes was so good, why wouldn't he eat the whole jar?
We answered that question already.
Because
Because a medical
because
doctor
Reddit said
advised
no.
against it.
The same Reddit that said Will Levis was going to the Panthers. I don't think I'll ever not use that
A
again.
medical doctor said
Uh huh. Sure he did. Oh no, you can't do that. Fix it, Reitzel. Yeah, screw it. Let's just do that.
There are unwritten rules of life. Every dude, Lonzo, instinctively knows the rules. The unwritten
What I don't understand what my view of mayonnaise is so wrong. It's a condiment. It's not a game breaker or it's a condiment, dude. Do you have a special kind of ketchup? If that's not Heinz ketchup, then I don't want that ketchup. If that's not Grey Poupon, well, I'm not having that mustard. I don't get it. Again, Steven, had Duke's mayo. It's just mayonnaise. I don't go, wow, this tastes so much better than because that's what people want you to say. And I'm not going to do it because I'm told to. because I dare to think for myself, unlike the cult of Duke. You guys are all weird.
Imagine
Every one of you.
somebody-
No. I am not the weird one, Kevin. All of you people are the weird one. I am the only sane person in this room and in this stream right now.
Imagine somebody
Gable's in the first break.
having that belief about chocolate. Like there's not different types
You're right.
of chocolate.
You're
that's
right.
better than-
I go only Hershey's chocolate. If you eat anything else but Hershey's chocolate, you're wrong. Hershey's chocolate is the best chocolate in the world. You can't have that other chocolate.
I don't
You know,
understand.
condescending tones doesn't change the fact that it's
You're
weird,
the
dude.
one with the condescending
It's
tone.
no, I'm not.
You very
I'm
much are.
I am I'm sanity right here, speaking on the air, whilst everyone else is crazy loony, belongs in a white room or something. I don't. I just know.
During the break, the conversation, as it does every 4 or 5 months,
Which is why you should also watch the stream, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, or Twitter, and you can partake in some of these conversations.
should search the Fan Upstate on Facebook or on YouTube. Search the Rob Brown Show on Twitch, and you can watch all 3 hours of the show live and go behind the scenes, have interactions with Lonzo, myself, and the rest of the Armada. Carlos with a K has not had Duke's Mayo.
Allegedly, we're taking the word of, and I'm not saying anyone. I mean, you know, I didn't.
According to what the streamers
Yes,
are telling
according to
us.
the stream.
According to the Rob.
By the way, you
Bots.
can hear Carlos. He's filling in for Mark Ryan, who's on vacation. 3 to 7. Check out Carlos with Diesel. That's his name. Check it. Check out those guys.
So Carlos with a K, according to the stream, has not had Duke's Mayo and said that this week he will find a jar of Duke's Mayo and give it a shot.
He probably won't though. I think it's only sold around here,
I think you can get it in Wally Worlds now.
even in New York.
Yeah,
I don't know.
we'll find out. If not, I will ship Carlos with a K a jar of Duke.
That's so
I'm
weird.
committed.
You mean that jar you didn't eat?
It's a jar on my fridge right now, as a matter of fact. So
What if you walked in and your refrigerator
no,
had a
no, stop,
different
stop,
jar?
stop,
Would you still use
Stop.
it?
I'm not letting you change the conversation here, Lonzo. I asked Lonzo during the break if Lonzo went to a sandwich shop and he ordered the sandwich of his choice, which he likes to top with a little mayo. And when he got to the cash out place where they apply the condiments, the sandwich artist was to say to him, "Sir, for mayo, we have Duke's or we have Miracle Whip. Which one would you prefer?" And Lonzo said, in probably the first statement since we begin working together, I don't believe him that he would prefer Miracle Whip to Duke's Mayo.
By the way, first of all, that hurts. Second of all, when I grew up, my mom got Miracle Whip all the time. You know what? If she got a different brand, I didn't care because it's mayonnaise.
It is
But
not mayo.
but implying that I'm going to go with Miracle Whip when Duke's is available just because if it gets a reaction like what I'm getting today, oh, absolutely, I would do it because it's weird. You guys are weird, and I'm surrounded by weirdness when it comes to mayonnaise. I don't get it. I really don't. And the fact that Diesel must be pushing it on Carlos, or the listeners are probably the listeners, because I don't think I don't know, but I don't think Diesel cares about it as much as you seem to, or Mark seems to, or some of the listeners do. And I get that Duke's is made in this area and you're all for supporting the area. Good for you. But in the end, a condiment is there to accent the sandwich, not to take away from the flavor of the sandwich. If I go, wow, this mayonnaise is good, then I don't taste the meat. I don't taste the cheese. I don't taste the bread. I don't taste the other things, which is the reason why I got the sandwich in the first place. Weird.
So I'm a fan of Godiva chocolate. I think Godiva makes the best chocolate in the game. There's other good stuff. Toblerone is pretty good.
Toblerone, what?
Toblerone.
It sounds like a 1%
it's
chocolate.
Swiss.
Is it?
It's delightful.
Definitely 1%
You
chocolate.
can buy it in a Publix, man.
Also a 1% grocery store.
All right.
Listen, there's a certain count. The other day we were having a conversation and someone else in the building almost got angry because they go to Publix and nowhere else. Publix is the higher end of grocery stores according to people's mentality. In the end, it's just a grocery store. They charge a little bit more for stuff that you can get the same stuff cheaper somewhere else, but it's a social thing. So
No,
being
so
able to say, I go to Publix, I don't go to Winn-Dixie or Harris Teeter or Walmart or Frank's or the grocery store down the. I go to Publix.
So I prefer Godiva. You can buy them in the little bags. They come with like 10 squares to a bag. The dark chocolate with mint is a GOAT tier snack for me. Okay. It is not the same as Hershey's chocolate. It is not the same as Toblerone. It is not the same as any other brand of chocolate you might purchase.
It's a bad comparison because is it solid chocolate? Are you comparing solid chocolate to solid chocolate?
Are you going to let me finish my comparison before you start throwing out your reasons that it's bad?
It is your show.
Oh, okay.
No, I wasn't.
I was going to guilt trip you.
No. I wasn't.
Listen.
I mean, it's you tell me to be quiet. I got to be quiet. That's all. I wasn't. This was not
I would never.
This was not a thing. Don't
Okay.
make it into a thing because it's not a thing.
Toblerone and Godiva and Hershey are all different. I prefer Godiva. I don't know why their chocolate is different and better than the rest, but it is. Now, if I sit down and somebody goes, would you like a Hershey bar? The answer is yes, because I still like Hershey.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't. You're trying.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah, I'm just.
But yes, I still want a Hershey bar, but I have a preference. It is better. It does not mean it's the only one I'm going to have. The fact that if I sat down and I said, I'd like some chocolate and somebody goes, would you like a marshmallow? No, that's not the same thing. That's a different thing. Miracle Whip is not mayonnaise. It is the evil of humanity masquerading as mayo. Duke's is Godiva. It is the best mayo in the game. Doesn't mean I'm not going to eat some Hellmann's if that's what's on the table. Doesn't mean I'm not going to eat some, Blue Plate, if that's on the table. But Duke's is the superior game.
Carlos is texting me and asked me what's wrong with Duke's. And so I'm going to explain to him, it's just mayonnaise. It's the people that's the problem.
So I got to call Carlos later is what you're saying.
So what you're
I gotta help fix
see
Carlos.
what you're implying is that you've got to bring him into your way of thinking. You've got to bring him into your cult. Whereas I'm trying to keep him out of the cult because in the end, it's just mayonnaise. And the passion behind the mayonnaise is weird. It's just weird. Weird.
844-326-3663. That is the Gilstrap Family Dealerships.com phone line. You can text us at 71307, 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N. Texture says, Rob, not all mayo tastes the same. Hellmann's is like an upper class mayo in my mind for Sooners, but Duke's hands down is the greatest mayo of all time.
All right. I'm answering Carlos's text by saying it's just mayo, but people around here are pushing it like they're a pusher trying to get you hooked. And that's the weird part. It's a drug. And okay, I refuse to be a part of this way of thinking because it's a condiment and it's not that important.
Texter says Miracle Whip is dressing. Read the label, Lonzo. Mike says mayo is the hill that I will die on. And Texter says, Rob, tell Lonzo to just pack it up and get lost if he doesn't like it.
Daggum Yankee, you go home. I've been hearing that for half my life because I've lived here for half my life. You can't make me go. I am a staple in this area.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, We got some sports to get into as hour number 2 of the show gets rolling right here on the radio broadcast. I am Rob Brown. He is the great one. While we're talking about stuff that's not sports, Lonzo can confirm to you, because I'm just a sports guy and not a sports guy, that one of my interests outside of the radio station is social gatherings, parties, if you will. I'm a big party guy.
You are the party, Rob Brown. That's not sarcasm. He is wherever he goes.
If there's a party, Rob does indeed like to make sure that it is the best possible party. I love a party. And as far as I'm concerned, there are very few bad reasons for a party. The Kentucky Derby is this weekend. It is Saturday, late afternoon, early evening. Y'all, the Kentucky Derby, I think, is my least favorite sporting event. To the point that I don't know that I can call it a sporting event. And I don't really get caught up in the what is a sport versus what is a competition versus what is a hobby discussion. It's not for me. It's not bad. It's just not for me. The Kentucky Derby is not a sporting event. All right? It's just some animals doing what those animals do. They run fast.
So are the horses athletes?
No.
Or they're just doing
They're
what they're
horses.
born to do? Okay. I agree with you.
They're just horses.
Yeah, they're just horses.
And don't get me wrong, they're genetically evolved to be faster than a horse out in nature or whatever.
You know,
But they're still just horses.
shout out for the shorter people finding a career, though. I mean,
Sure. I mean, I guess there's some positives there. There's some positives in everything if you look for them.
and the bravery it takes to be smaller in stature and get on the backs of those huge horses and go really fast. I think that's something.
Sure. Great. The Kentucky Derby is not a sporting event, A. And B, the Kentucky Derby drives me up a wall because I get very, very frustrated when the NBA playoffs are going on, the Stanley Cup playoffs are going on, Major League Baseball is going on, college football has just wrapped up. It's spring. The Women's World Cup is just around the corner. The MLS is in full tilt. There's so many great sports going on. And it happened about a week ago. I start getting the text, Rob, who's your favorite in the Kentucky Derby? I don't have one. The only horse I've ever pulled for, Lonzo, was named Hoof Hearted. It's the only horse I've ever pulled for.
You're so juvenile.
Sure. Because hearing the very British announcer say, I moves to the outside, here comes Hoof Hearted, is hilarious.
All right, you just
that was Australian. I know, shut up.
Yeah, just with a little bit of Southern thrown in there, I think.
The Aussie from Anderson. There's a great character concept for one of y'all to use. Anyway, I don't care. And the fun thing that we all need to acknowledge is that y'all don't care either. Now, I am all in for a Kentucky Derby party. But the emphasis is on the party, not the Derby. I came to the realization, Lonzo, that I am what so many people are when the Super Bowl rolls around, right? You and I have had this conversation. When the Super Bowl rolls around, if you're a sports guy, you prefer to watch the Super Bowl at home. Or if you're going to go to a Super Bowl party, you make sure that it is a Super Bowl party filled with actual football fans so that you can watch the game. But so many people go to Super Bowl parties. Why? For the party. for the social engagement, for the commercials. That's me for the Derby. I will be at a Kentucky Derby party Saturday, and I'm very, very excited about it because mint juleps, delightful.
I have never got the appeal of the horse track. I've been to, believe it or not, I've been to a horse track a couple times. There's one down the road from where I worked, grocery store in Columbus, and we went there a couple times because one of the cashiers was dating a guy. You know what I mean? A track guy who gave us a couple tips. And
She knew a guy, huh?
yeah, he gave us a couple tips because that cashier liked us, and it paid out a little bit. We worked at a grocery store. It wasn't like we put down like a couple dollars and tripled it because my dude knew what he was doing. But I didn't care about the race other than the fact the guy said, bet this and you'll win. And we did.
Sure.
But looking around at the crowd and Kentucky Derby looks interesting. In the way that the Met Gala is interesting. It's just a bunch of famous people there to dress up, and they probably don't even watch the race.
Now, from what I understand, the infield at the Derby is an absolute boat show. And I'm all in for some people watching at a boat show. All right. And I mean, the Rob Brown Show boat show, not like a show of
So you don't mean
boats.
the horses and stuff flying around that
care.
people.
Could not
No,
care
I
less.
mean, because horses. Yeah.
No,
anyway.
that's horse boat.
Okay.
This is a boat show.
Oh, okay.
From what I understand, it's a chaos. It's just a party. It's just chaos. And I'm in for that. But I need y'all to stop pretending like any of you actually care about the Kentucky Derby. You don't. You never have. You didn't then. You don't now. Stop asking me what my picks are. I don't have any. My picks are mint juleps and pimento cheese. That's my picks.
There was one time that I guarantee you have been excited about the Kentucky Derby. It was the Kentucky Derby theme of the Star Awards.
I would have done that.
And it was just about dressing up I wore suspenders. So, I mean, because I think that's Kentucky Derby. But
Now
you know.
listen, let me make
and
abundantly
a hat
clear.
and got dubbed the Amish Mafia. So, I mean,
Let me make it very clear. I'm going to my first Kentucky Derby party since I moved here this year, right? Year 1 got canceled due to COVID. Year 2 didn't catch an invite. Year 3, I got one. Okay? I'm going to a Kentucky Derby.
What'd you do that year to not get an invite?
I don't know. But I got one this year. Actually, no, I think I did get an invite. I think we were on vacation. Yeah, I think we were on vacation. Anyway, I got one. And I'm going to tell you that Rob Brown is going tomorrow after work, as a matter of fact, over to the Haywood Mall to go pick up a seersucker suit because I haven't owned one in many, many years. I will have my seersucker suit.
Is it worth paying that much money for a suit to just go to one thing?
Oh, no, I'll wear it all the time.
Okay. All right.
But I'm all in for a party. I'm not saying you shouldn't be in for a Derby party. Derby parties are great. I'm just saying, first off, is it really the most exciting 2 minutes in sports? I'm going to argue no. I'm going to say the last 2 minutes of Lakers Warriors.
I was going to say,
was pretty damn exciting.
Yeah, that was pretty exciting.
Yeah. So I'm going to say no.
Probably like the last couple minutes of those shootouts or whatever, the hockey game sevens were probably pretty
the
good.
first 2 minutes of overtime between the greatest NHL regular season team of all time, the Boston Bruins, and the vast underdog Florida Panthers was more excited than 50 horse races all put together. Stop. You don't care. You've never cared. You didn't care then. You won't care next year. You won't care the year after that. If you cared, you wouldn't be asking me who the favorites are. You know. Somebody in the stream.
Well, maybe because you are on a betting show on the weekends that I've heard about. I forget the name of it. What's the name of that show?
Bet for the Cycle Star and Cody Decker, former Major League Baseball player, Rob Brown, Hayden Ass, Mario, and a casting crew of all-stars making it sound as good as we do.
So maybe they think because you're on a betting show that maybe you have some insight into other forms of supposed sport.
I do. Not that one. Not that one. Because I don't care. I don't care. I don't know what goes in. Like, somebody hit me earlier with, Rob, horse racing is just NASCAR, but all the competitors only have 1 horsepower.
I think that's pretty funny.
It is pretty funny.
But there ain't no rubbing in horse racing.
Listen, here's the deal. I will talk NASCAR with you till I'm blue in the face. And we can talk about chassis, and we can talk about camber setups, and we can talk about body styles, and we can talk about side drafting and bump drafting and clean air and dirty air. And I can have all these different conversations, no problem, because NASCAR is so much more than go fast, turn left. Horse racing is horses running fast. I can go to YouTube and just pull up a million videos of horses running fast, and it's the same thing. But Rob, they have to practice how the horse just runs. It's a horse. Well, they jockey for position. I don't care. I don't care. I really don't care. You know what the only thing that intrigues me about the horse racing is? You know what the one talent I see in the horse racing is, Lonzo? Is how the jockeys wear like 15 of the goggle visor things on their face, and how they're able to stand on the horse, steer the horse, and pull those goggles off one after the other all at the same time. That's impressive. That's solid athletic coordination.
Especially, and I know I keep saying this, for people of that size, because they all weigh less than 100 pounds.
Yeah.
And I mean, the strength it would take to hang on and the agility it would take to do all those things that you mentioned.
Yeah, it's impressive, you know, the glasses or whatever. But that's it. Stop texting me about the Derby. I don't care. You don't care. Nobody cares.
Are they asking
Knock it
you
off.
what you think Tom Brady's going to wear to the Derby?
I'm more interested in that than the Derby. And I don't care about that at all. All right, let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute. ESPN put out an interesting article. We have talked baseball's rule changes this year. No more shift, pitch clock in play, the disengagement rule for pitchers and hitters. It's worked so far. The games have been sped up. There's more players on bases. There's more runs being scored. It has not necessarily been as big of a detriment to pitchers as we thought it might be. And that's all well and interesting. But the one group we haven't heard from yet, their feelings on the rule changes, the players, the guys who have to play by these rules. So what do they have to say? I'll give you some of their thoughts when we come back on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Gables.
All right, guys, got a live read. Stay right there. We will be right back. All right, ladies and gents. By the way, if you don't mind, do us a favor and like these videos when we post them, because we have to get more traction with them, and we would appreciate it ever so greatly. So please and thank you. Like the videos when they come up on your stream. Because we're being watched. The algorithm is watching.
Check out their collection today at smithandjames.com. Stop by their stores in downtown Greer and on Third Day Boulevard in Greenville.
And you frowny faces still counts as a view. So, I mean, you know. Cameron tells me the Volcanoes place is open now. It's
Okay.
the Korean
Be hitting that up, then.
thing. He says they have the grill thing right in front, and you put your own choices of meat in it, and then you have hot pots that are part of the table.
Love that.
I don't think I've ever done that before.
I don't think I have either. I've done like fondue at the table before.
I know I've never done fondue, so
I love fondue.
but it's right over next to Fuddruckers, across the street.
Okay. I might hit it up today. I don't hate that plan.
I mean,
Unless it's packed.
if you want, I might give it a shot with you.
I'm down. I haven't had lunch yet.
I don't know if you're trying to lose weight, if it's but I guess you can. Anyway, I'm willing to give it a shot.
Okay. Major League Baseball has undergone a bit of a shift this year. We've got some new rules in play. You've heard about them on and the pitch clock. The shift has been banned. There are disengagement rules about how many times pitchers and batters are allowed to call timeout and step off the rubber or step out of the box. There's all these new rules that have gone into play. And frankly, they have won me over. You are getting shorter games. You are getting more action in the batter's box and on the bases. We have seen, although I don't necessarily love this one as much, I get why it's good. We have seen line drives come back into play. We have seen batted balls that in the past would have been outs turn into base hits. And frankly, the new rules seem to have gathered near universal support amongst the fans. But we are fans. We are not the ones that are actually playing the games. ESPN sent out a couple of intrepid young reporters and asked some of the players of Major League Baseball, what do they and don't they like about the new rules? Ian Happ is an outfielder for the Chicago Cubs. He said, quote, not having the shift, being able to have some of those ground balls be hits is huge. Rewarding guys for hard hit balls and the line drive being back in play. I think I've had 2 hits so far that would have been outs. Mike Canna is an outfielder for the New York Mets. Asked about his favorite thing. He said the game's being over in 2.5 hours more often than 3.5 hours. I do remember last year, my garage near my apartment where I was parking closed at 12. So it'd be like with my wife and my kids, it was a rush to get home just to make it to the parking garage sometimes. Matt Moore, he is a relief pitcher for the LA Angels. He said, quote, I don't know that I have a favorite thing, but it is nice feeling like the game has been condensed down to more of a reasonable time frame. As a reliever, now I'm heading out to the bullpen in the third inning, and you no longer have an hour till the end of the third inning. It's like, hey, I might have half an hour. The pace of the game, and depending on which matchup it is, the other day it was Anderson and Greinke, and we were in the fourth inning after like 30 minutes. It was very quick. So that's one thing that I do like. Tony Kemp is a utility fielder for the Athletics. He said, quote, probably my favorite rule has been the disengagement limits because I think sometimes it used to be to get too much. It can be repetitive and pitchers fall into a rhythm of like 3 or 4 times throwing over, and it prolongs the game. Elvis Andrus plays shortstop for the White Sox. He said, quote, the bigger bases. It's a lot easier for everything. Stealing, making double plays. It's helped the game a lot. I think it's the only one I like. Kyle Higashioka is a catcher for the Yankees. He said, quote, I like the runner on second base in extra innings because I don't want to play 18 innings. And sometimes those games when it's 0-0 or 1-1, it's destined to go 6 more innings. You're just dreading it. So now at least the thing is both teams get their chance no matter what. I think it just ends the game quicker, and it's actually pretty exciting because it's high stakes immediately. And finally, Kevin Cash, the manager of the Tampa Bay Rays, who said, quote, the pitch clock, the pace of the game. It's helped baseball. I've enjoyed it. I hope the fans have enjoyed it. It's obviously a faster pace and seemed to have created a little bit more action in the game, which is a good thing. But there are others. Blake Snell is a starting pitcher for the Padres and seems to be speaking for a decently sized chunk of starting pitchers. Asked what his favorite thing about the new rules was, Blake Snell said, quote, there are none that I can think of, end quote. Now, that's not to say it's all perfect. Happ said that he would rather the pitcher have 1 disengagement with no one on and probably make the clock 17 seconds with no one on base. Canna said make the pitch clock 20 seconds with the bases empty instead of 15. Give the pitchers and hitters a little bit more time because we can get gassed when there's a long at bat. I like to step in and breathe and try to clear my head a little bit before I hit. And guys aren't getting an opportunity to go through their routine. I don't like it when I'm up there. I think the game moving faster is a good thing, but it feels rushed. It feels like you're getting winded while the at-bat's happening because you're exerting a lot of energy to slow the bat down and catch your breath. It does feel a little bit ridiculous. Moore said, I think a pitcher can get a timeout like the hitter does with 2 strikes, but we can take it any time. I don't really love the fact that I can't call time. Look, I'm not it's not fair type of guy, but there really should be something for the pitcher. The other day I'm in Boston and I have mud on my cleats and I can feel the pressure. Like I'm not comfortable because my spikes are clogged up and the clock is ticking. The umpire made an exception for me this time, but it's not the same. The thing I like about it is the game is quicker. The moments that matter are tied close together, but I don't really enjoy. Now I'm throwing in a tighter ball game in the second half of a game. I'd like to have a different feeling than I have to get going. Maybe I want to take a breath. Maybe the moment coming up, this is what the game is going to come down to, this at bat right here. And I don't want to feel like I'm rushing the decision or trying to get the ball out just because of the clock. Blake Snell said he hates the stolen bases aspect. He said, quote, you can't throw no one out, which I love. You have to be 1 to 3 point seconds to the plate. If you pick twice, they're getting crazy jumps and leads. Stolen bases are a joke, and the bases are closer. The game was made perfectly, and they changed the game. I need to be better at pressing buttons on the PitchCom device. Sometimes you're thinking about how to attack a hitter, then you need to hit the buttons. I'd like to be able to say I'm pressing the wrong buttons. More time would help. Long story short, the only problems players seem to have are the pitch clock not being quite long enough, pitchers not being able to call a timeout until the second strike, meaning they can't woosah before the first pitch of the AB. And they don't like the limited number of disengagements, the limited number of times you can throw to a ball, to a base where a runner is standing. Remember, you only get 2 if you don't pick the guy off after 2 in 1AB. You can't throw back over, which means if you're Ronald Acuna Jr., You can take a 15-step lead at that point. You're almost guaranteed a stolen base as long as you're faster than me. That's pretty much it. Which, by the way, I ran the bases after the drive game on Sundays, though. Your boy still got it when it needs it. I outran so many 6-year-olds.
Is this pre or post getting rid of the energy drinks?
This was pre.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, there was one heavy monster consumed during that game.
I'm not saying that you were using performance enhancers, but you know,
I'm saying your boy dug in and he motored to home.
bigger bases a problem for you?
Not really.
Okay. All
No,
right.
and that's
Did
why.
you-
Honestly, that's why I did it.
I was gonna say, I was
Yeah.
wondering if you even thought about
Yeah.
that before you did it.
That's
Okay.
why I did. I wanted to see. Now, in fairness, I haven't competitively run bases in probably 15 years.
Does the drive know about the heat you throw?
You know, I told Alex the other day that I want a first pitch before the end of the season, and he told me it could probably be arranged. So we'll see.
They're gonna get the gun out.
And look, I already got the jersey.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm,
all Iggy's got to do is go. You're up, Brown. Need a little relief action here. You want to step in for 3?
and we know it's not gonna be in the dirt.
Nah, man.
It's gonna be some heat.
I still got some break on it if I need it.
Yep. As long as you don't over practice.
That's it. No, so I ran the bases because I really didn't want to see, like, do you have to change up? It's like shooting a free throw, right? I haven't shot a basketball in however many long, but at the end of the day, I know how to step up the line and the muscle memory comes back. It might take 1 or 2 to warm it up, but the muscle memory is going to come back on a free throw. It's the most repetitive move in basketball. Running the bases is the same. You know what your stride is. You know where your steps are. You know where you need to be in order to make sure that you're able to tag the bag and not roll an ankle on the way by. So I wanted to see if the bigger bases changed the way I ran the base, right? Because for a lot of guys, like when you're turning first, you know, you get the wide berth out, you make the big angle turn, the big sweeping turn. For me, and I think a lot of runners, Lonzo, I wanted to land the ball of my foot on the corner of the bag, right? You know, I don't want to step on the middle of the bag where it's rounded off on the top. I want to step on the inside, the very inside of the bag with just the ball of the foot so that it's just a little 1 inch of elevation. It's not going to throw your stride off too much. Same with second, same with third, all the way to the dish. Honestly, did not notice a change. Didn't notice a change in the bags at all.
Did you slide?
No, I
Okay.
had my good jeans on.
All right. All right.
Yeah, had my good jeans on. Point of all of this here is that we knew it was going to be a dramatic change, and we know there's going to be some tinkering moving forward, right? We know there's going to be some tinkering. Here are some players saying, look, we understand the pace of the game is faster, and as players, we're good with it. Getting out of the ballpark after a 2.5-hour game is better than a 3.5-hour game. Let's go. But the problem is the acceleration of the game can lead you to these 1 or 2 big moments, right? These 1 or 2 big at-bats where, hell, our parlay game a couple of weeks ago on Bet for the Cycle, hosted by former MLB player Cody Decker and yours truly, Rob Brown, Saturday from noon to 4 on the BetQL network. We had a parlay on a Yankees game that ended with DJ LeMahieu at the dish. Bases stacked. Cody and I needed 3 runs to score to win the parlay. So a triple, and we win. LeMahieu's a guy who can get you some triples. Really, a double probably would have done it. LeMahieu steps up to the dish, and it was a super quick at bat. Resulted in we needed a granny. That's what it was. We needed a dinger. We needed a dinger because we needed a Yankees money line win to win the parlay. And it was such a quick at bat. And it felt like neither the pitcher nor the hitter really got an opportunity to settle into the AB, get comfortable, and play the mind games. It feels like the mind games are out a little bit. So I wouldn't be shocked to see the pitch clock get a couple of seconds added to it with guys on, without guys on. But outside of that, for the most part, the players seem to be pretty happy overall with the new rules. And I think that's good because I can certainly tell you the fans are. And as the players are too, it just means we have to tinker, not change the entire game again, which I think is good. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up this hour of the show. Got a couple more stories I want to get into on the radio broadcast. Shane Beamer says a guy expected to contribute on the offense this year is going to miss at least the opening few weeks of the season. Who is it? What happened? I'll break that down for you. Plus, the Carolina Panthers are making roster moves as they round out the roster before OTAs. Tell you who they decided to pick up, who they decided to not pick up. All that more coming up on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Make your leg work? I get it.
Reduces stroke risk. It's the #1 cardiologist prescribed blood thinner. Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without talking to your doctor, as this may increase your risk of stroke. Eliquis can cause serious and, in rare cases, fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or have antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding or unusual bruising, or if you have tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. It may increase your bleeding risk if you take medicines such as aspirin tablets, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
Progressive covers pets in our auto policy at no extra charge. Now, let's see what your dog has to say.
As a dog, I think Progressive's auto pet policies. Oh, what is that? That's just my tail. Weird. Anyway, Progressive protection. There it is again. See? This is why I need protection. I'm so distracted. Nope, that is still my tail.
Progressive Auto Insurance covers pets for up to $1,000 in a car accident at no extra charge. And we think your dog would say that's great, too. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Coverage for cats and dogs including the purchase of collision coverage and subject to policy terms.
She presents the sound of summer calling.
Hey, it's me, Summer. I know you're busy with beach days, little league games, and all the other fun in the sun, but you gotta get to BQ.
Got to get my leg working right before vacation.
Summer Blizzard menu is here, and it brought 5 iconic summer flavors like new peanut butter
Or
punch
I'll be
jam,
stuck on a balcony with a book, which is still not a bad thing.
That's not the worst.
Yeah.
You could do worse.
From the Ingalls Market Studio.
Texter said, I went to get a hot dog in the 3rd inning, and when I got back to my seat 30 to 45 minutes later, they were in the bottom of the 7th. It's not cool missing half a game. It took you 45 minutes to get a hot dog.
How good was the hot dog?
I hope it was great. And I hope it was loaded. It should not, listen, all due respect, even at a Major League Baseball stadium, it should not take you 30 to 45 minutes to get a hot dog.
Maybe they stopped at the condiment stand and had to put the right amount of relish and all that kind of stuff on the dog. Maybe.
I still know. Like even at, and I know that most MLB stadiums are like this now. At the drive stadiums, though, you can order your food from the phone. And then just go to the concession stand and pick it up, and you're back in your seat in an inning break. I will say this. The inning breaks are quick now, right? Like that's at the drive game when I'm working. That's my time to shine, baby. The inning breaks. You get a 2-minute inning break. Pitch clock comes on with 2 minutes. They count it down. We have to be clearing the field by 45 seconds. By 30 seconds, the field has to be cleared out, and the first pitch is getting thrown when it hits zeros.
Luckily, you work in radio, so you understand what time is.
Yeah, brevity is certainly my thing. I get it, but my man, it should not take you, all due respect, 45 minutes to get a hot dog. It just shouldn't. Even at a Braves game, it doesn't take that long. Just about every stadium allows you to order food. Hell, some of the stadiums will bring the food to you in your seat. You pop a little app on your phone. You go, I'd like a hot dog. I'd like a beer. I'd like some nachos and a pretzel. And they just bring it to you. You don't even have to miss a swing.
So they don't have the get your hot dogs here guy walking up and down the thing anymore, selling popcorn and drinks and all that stuff?
I think MLB games do. I think a lot of the minor league stadiums don't do that anymore. But again, you don't need that guy when I can go hot dog, beer, pretzel, deliver.
I'm curious about that texture. Does that make you not want to go back to a baseball game, or does that make you think maybe I don't need the hot dog?
That's a fair question,
Or
honestly.
can you go to a baseball game and not order a hot dog?
I mean, no, I'm getting a hot dog. Even when I'm working baseball games, I get a dog, right? I save the beer for the afterward, but I get a dog and a Diet Pepsi or whatever. It just should not take you 45 minutes to get a hot dog, dude. Like, even if you're getting the most, if you go to LA and you go to Dodger Stadium and you get a Dodger dog, that's the most famous hot dog in baseball.
Probably costs like $35.
Yeah, but it ain't costing you, it ain't taking you 45 minutes to get there and back. 45 minutes is like a third of the game.
Don't they have the game playing in the concourse or
Most
wherever you
places
are?
do.
Yeah.
Most places do. But again, like, I get it. You don't want to go to a game and then watch the game on TV at the game. You want to be in your seat for the game. I get it. I'm just saying, no, man. 45 minutes? What game did you go to that you missed the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th inning for a hot dog? And B, how damn good was that hot dog?
Sounds like really good pitching. I mean,
Yeah, even with the pitch clock, that's redonk.
no. I mean, was it nothing but strikeouts on both sides the entire time and they could go
I
that
don't know.
fast?
Look, we had a game. I worked a game Sunday for the drive. And we do stuff during the inning breaks, right? And so we had on one side of the stadium, I had a thing. I want to say it was like the end of the 3rd, into the top of the 4th. I had a thing on one side. And then 3 outs later, I had to be on the other side of the stadium for the next hit. The inning was 4 pitches, Lonzo. It was a foul ball, a pop out, a ground out, a pop out. 4 pitch, half inning. I was, hey, it's Rob. I'm down here on first base. So I get it. I mean, sometimes you just catch a bad break and you get a 4 pitch half inning. But that ain't your numbers ain't right, my man. Now, if you got like a family of 5 and you're getting hot dogs and drinks for everybody, that's kind of on you, bro. Like, that's kind of the consequence of bringing a family of 5 to a game if they can't all go get their own dog. But I can't ask you to slow up the game of baseball so that your kids can get hot dogs. That ain't it. Anyway. Yeah, I was going to get some stories in here, but we're about to take a break. So let me just close this hour by saying this. Baseball hot dogs are the best hot dogs, right? Ballpark dogs in the sun at a ball game are the best dogs on planet Earth. It should not take you 45 minutes to get one. It should not take you 45 minutes if you made a trip for dogs and popcorn and a pretzel and a beer and back. It should not take 45 minutes. If it does, you should write a very strongly worded email to the stadium of choice. I promise you it doesn't take 45 minutes to get a dog at Floor. It doesn't take you 45 minutes to get a dog at Truist. I've done them both multiple times. It just doesn't take that long, man. All right, let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute, I will get you that South Carolina Gamecock story, and we will get some Carolina Panthers discussion in here as well. Let you know what's going on with both the Carolina teams. The Commanders. Bum, 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 bum. The president came out yesterday and said something that, when tacked onto the comments of Ron Rivera, are hilarious and very obvious. I'm going to tell you what they are in the next hour as well. Rob Alonzo and you, the Rob Brown Show rolls on. It is the Fan Upstate. Oh man, we got some angry faces on the reactions today.
Yeah, we got more after I mentioned it, which is fine. Anytime I see those, I think they came from Twitch, but I don't know.
Maybe.
Or they're Duke's Mayonnaise fans. So
Big Duke's guys out
you
there.
could blame me. I think we had those before that, but I think they doubled after it. So
If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. And now get $250 when you join Ramp. Just go to ramp.com/sports. Ramp.com/sports. ramp.com/sports.
If you're hired, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Golfers, the best upstate deal on golf is back and on sale now. The 2023 Upstate Golf Card gets you a round of golf at 9 premier upstate courses, and it's still only $99. Grab your foursome and get your Upstate Golf Cards now to play courses including the Preserve and Verde, Legacy Pines, Pebble Creek, Greer Golf, Carolina Springs, and more. Order at theupstategolfcard.com. 9 rounds of golf for only $99. UpstateGolfCard.com. UpstateGolfCard.com.
No staring at your phone, no rolling in 2 hours late, no sweatpants, no jeans, and no shorts.
Dun, 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 dun.
Hello, I'm Howard Mackler, founder of Innovation Refunds. You've heard me talking about the payroll tax refund for months. I'm so proud that we've helped over 15,000 businesses claim over $5 million in cash incentives. If you own a business, even if you've asked your CPA about this, you owe it to yourself to take another look. Every client is assigned a licensed and insured tax attorney who evaluates your company at my expense to accurately determine eligibility. Innovation Refunds has hundreds of 5-star reviews on Trustpilot and Google, and your business might be entitled to receive up to 26.
Now that I think about it, we wouldn't have time to go do that. I don't think.
Oh, because yeah, that's right. I
That
forgot we got
1 o'clock thing.
Do it tomorrow.
I'm down tomorrow.
Do it.
I said I'm down for tomorrow.
Let's do it tomorrow. Because I'm gonna go home for that call.
Sure you should.
Yeah, I mean I'll be on the call. Oh, you think I should be here for it? It doesn't matter. I gotta let the dog out, and she can't wait till 3.
Okay. Just
Good thought, good consideration. But
What does it mean to you knowing the legacy of that belt?
You have to have a confidence in me, of course. Douglas is huge history, and now to be in a situation that I can do my own part and add to his history and his legacy, that's fantastic.
see a video I sent you?
no.
How the saying goes down.
The title doesn't make the man, the man makes the title.
Yes, exactly. That's what it is. And I believe in that because at the end of the day, you can win that. But what you do with it, that's the real question, I think. I think you can be at the glorious night and win a title, but then the hard work starts. Sure. I feel like.
Well, that's adorable.
We expect a lot more, and you have to deliver it every time.
Same great show, new time.
The Rob Brown Show.
Now 1980 only on the Fan Upstate.
I think it's funny. CMC trying to pose, and then Kittle is like showing how to actually do that
The McCaffrey's.
with the guns out. It's like your son's with you,
McCaffrey's the
and your
most
son
talent-
sees you
yes,
posing, and he
yes.
wants to do it too.
McCaffrey's the most talented running back in the league. He is not the most ripped running back in the league.
Real sports talk. Morning 6 to 9.
Upstate.
Upstate. WORD Spartanburg.
The official sports voice of the Upstate Fan. CBS Sports
Also, for some reason, I didn't picture CMC hanging out with Kittle. I think Kittle might be just a little too wild as far as levels of.
The third, the final, the best, the money hour of the Rob Brown Show goes now. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am Rob Brown. On the other side of the metaphorical glass this AM, he is the guy in charge of the sound of not just this radio program, but every radio program everywhere. The great Malonzo is here as well. If you would like to be a part of the radio program, now is a wonderful opportunity to do so. At 844-326-3663. That is the number to the Gilstrap Family Dealerships.com phone line. 844-326-3663. You can also get at us on the text line at 71307, 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N, and we will read them on the radio broadcast for you today. Let's get to a couple of stories as we work our way through the final hour of the show. South Carolina football offensive lineman Jalen Nichols is likely to miss at least some of the 2023 season, according to Shane Beamer in a presser he put out yesterday. He, quote, suffered a pretty significant injury, end quote, back during the Garnet and Black spring game. Beamer said, quote, he won't be ready for the beginning of the season. We're optimistic that the recovery process will go well and we'll get him back hopefully before the season is over. Nichols is a fifth-year lineman from Charlotte, North Carolina. He appeared in 12 games with 7 starts for South Carolina last season at left tackle and was expected to be the anchor for the Gamecocks offensive line this year. He left the spring game at Willie B with what was labeled at the time as a, quote, lower body injury. Beamer did not go into the specifics of the nature of the injury, but we saw the play. Nichols' left knee appeared to buckle during a pass blocking snap. Trainers applied ice to the area on the sidelines after he exited the game, which he did not return to. Nichols signed with South Carolina as a 3-star recruit in the class of 2019 out of Myers Park High School. He's appeared in 37 career games for the Gamecocks with 18 starts, 14 of those coming over the past 2 seasons at left guard and left tackle. South Carolina is already in the process of replacing a pair of starters. Jovan Gwynn and Eric Douglas are gone, along with veteran Dylan Wadham. Jovan Gwynn and Eric Douglas, along with Dylan Wadham, will be the ones who step in to fill the guys that have left. With Nichols out, redshirt freshman Kason Henry and transfer Sidney Fugar out of Western Illinois and Nick Gargiolu from Yale are likely to compete for starting jobs early in the season. Henry worked with a second-team offense during the later portions of 2022, was expected to do so again this year. He's been hampered by a lower body injury during the spring as well. Fugar has been seen playing time with the first team in his first spring at South Carolina, while Gargiulo played every position on the line during his time at Yale, including tackle. So, bit of a good news, bad news situation here for the Gamecocks. The bad news is you were down a guy that you were expecting to be an, if not the anchor of the offensive line this year. The good news is that the guys you brought in, while they certainly are not going to be quite as talented, are fluid. They can play anywhere on the offensive line, and they have got some experience behind them a little bit. This is interesting because obviously we've got questions about South Carolina's run game this year. You have lost the biggest names in the running back room. You are going to have to find out who's going to be the guy that's going to step up into that role. It is going to be very interesting to see out of the running back position who, if anybody, breaks out. There's not a ton of names there. There's not a ton of names that are going to necessarily catch the eye nationally. So is it going to be Dak? Is it going to be Juju? Is it going to be Mario Anderson? Will one of those guys be able to step up and replace what you lost in Marshawn and CBS? I don't know. But what I do know is if you find yourself in a spot where Jalen Nichols is out at the left tackle, teams can attack a little bit more early in the season, right? You can attack now if you've got a backup left tackle out there. And the problem is going to be for South Carolina. I was on a Twitter Spaces a couple of days ago with a couple of different South Carolina bloggers, and we were talking about what the expectations are going to be. And I think it's reasonable to expect 8-4 out of the Gamecocks this year, right? I think it's reasonable to expect 8-4. I think it's reasonable to expect a step up. I think 9-3 is very possible. I think 10-2 is possible, but improbable. I think that's very optimistic. Alonzo, you shook your head. Yes, 9-3, adding 1, I think is a reasonable expectation. May not happen. You can't do worse than 8-4, but I think 9-3 is very reasonable.
Well, you could do worse than 8-4, but you should not. Especially
Let me rephrase that.
Yeah, especially with the momentum that they had at the end of the season. I think it's not unreasonable to go to get 9 wins, and I would include in that a win over the Clemson Tigers because it did that last year. I haven't reminded people in a while about the fact that because Clemson folks on this show anyway are pretty quiet.
It has been like 6 to 8 minutes since you pointed that out.
Yeah, well, maybe a little bit longer, but yeah, South Carolina beat Clemson last year, so that means a whole year of quiet from the Clemson people, and it's peaceful. I love it.
If we look down the schedule, North Carolina should be a win. I think a lot of people are underestimating North Carolina with Drake May this year.
You've been high on North Carolina before.
I'm high on North Carolina and Florida State. I'm high on both of those teams. I do not think – I think this year will be the toughest year in a very long time in the ACC for the Clemson Tigers. That's not to say they won't be the last team standing. But just about – actually, not just about. Lonzo, every post-spring game college football poll that I have looked at so far, every one of them has Florida State ranked ahead of Clemson and Carolina ranked no further than 3 spots behind them. Every poll. Now, I understand at the end of the day, polls don't mean boat, especially polls that drop in early May. But I think there's something to be said for the fact that every poll has FSU ranked ahead of Clemson and UNC within 3 spots of Clemson. Carolina is not a gimme game, especially not in week 1, right? We know there are going to be question marks about Carolina's offense this year. We know there are question marks about the run game. Now we know there's question marks about the offensive line. There are questions that have to be answered here, and catching Carolina in week 1 out the gate is not great for the Gamecocks. That could be an L. Not will be, could be. Furman, all due respect to our friends over at Furman, should be a win for South Carolina. Georgia's an L. Mississippi State should be a win. Tennessee, 5th game of the year. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, even with a step down from Hendon Hooker to Joe Milton, and even with the loss of a couple of guys like Jalen Hyatt, Tennessee on the road is not going to be a guaranteed win for the Gamecocks this year.
So you're counting it as a loss?
I'm counting up. Here's what I'm doing. I'm counting up the maybes, and then I'm going to split them, right? Counting up the maybes. So I got Carolina versus North Carolina as a maybe. I got Furman as a win. I got Georgia as a loss. 1-1-1. I've got Mississippi State as a should-win game. I've got Tennessee as a maybe. That's 2 of those. Florida comes to town. Florida should be beatable this year.
They should have been beatable last year.
Absolutely. And certainly should not have train wrecked you last year like they did. But Florida should be a win. I'm going to tell you right now, if South Carolina loses to Missouri this year, Alonzo, I'm going to slam my head into a wall. You cannot lose that game again. You can't do it. That one's in Missouri. That should be a win. Texas A&M. If everything was going right for A&M, I would count this as an L. But A&M has had an exodus of talent out of the program. Things are going real bad for Jimbo Fisher right now. This game, however, is at Texas A&M. Lonzo, is it fair of me to label that as a maybe? I'm going to say it is.
Absolutely, it's fair.
I'm going to say it's fair as a maybe. Jacksonville State comes to town. That should be a win. Vanderbilt comes to town. That should be a win. Kentucky comes to town. Got a little rivalry developing here between the other Stoops and Shano. But they don't have Will Levis. They lost some talent this year. I'm going to say Kentucky in Columbia should be a win.
Kentucky's pretty embarrassed about what happened last year after the coach did the talking.
A lot of
and
smoke, no fire.
got it handed to them. So they're going to come in. It's going to mean a little more to them. But
Do you want to chalk this as an L or a maybe?
I know South Carolina's going to beat.
Chalk that as a dub.
Yes.
Okay. And then Clemson, I'm going to say is a maybe game. So I've got your maybe games listed right now as North Carolina, Tennessee, Texas A&M, and Clemson. If you go 2-2 through that stretch, then you add Georgia as an L. That's 9-3, right? If you win every game you're supposed to, and half the games that are maybes, that's 9-3.
And where do you finish in the SEC with a 9-3?
Behind Georgia, it doesn't matter.
True.
Behind Georgia. Georgia's going at the worst 11-1.
No way Georgia dominates 3 years in a row.
Maybe not a natty, but they will win the East for a third year in a row.
They wouldn't have won one last year if it hadn't been for that stinking kicker.
Worst kick in college football history? Maybe.
Without a doubt.
The Gamecocks at 9-3 is a realistic possibility. 8-4 is the low bar now, right? We can't accept less than 8-4, right? I'm not saying you start cranking up the hot seat or anything, but 8-4 is the lowest you accept at this point. Always forward, always up. 9-3 is very possible. 10-2 is not unrealistic. If you win 3 of the 4 maybe games, that's 10-2. That's not unrealistic. But to cycle back around, now you've got a maybe game against Carolina, an L against Georgia, and depending on how many games it takes him to get back, a maybe game against Tennessee, and you've got to do it all without Jalen Nichols, your starting left tackle. That's not great news.
So in your way of thinking, there's only one sure loss.
There's only one I guarantee an L. That's not to say there's only going to be one L. But the only L on this schedule that I guarantee is a loss is Georgia.
I remember when Alabama was a guaranteed loss and South Carolina won them, beat them. There's been
Sure, but there's a reason you remember that game. It's because there's 99 guaranteed losses that are losses, and there's one guaranteed loss that wasn't. There's a reason you remember that because it's the only one, right?
Oh, they've won a couple other ones, but that definitely stands out for sure.
On the level of what this South Carolina Georgia looks like, yes, that year was similar. It would be a small miracle for the Gamecocks to beat Georgia. It's going to be a small miracle for anybody to beat Georgia. Anybody.
Didn't Georgia lose a bunch of guys to the draft?
They did. A lot of talent gone. Best defender in the SEC, Jalen Carter and Will Anderson, both gone. Will's from Alabama, obviously, but you get my point. I will say Georgia's a guaranteed loss. Georgia's a guaranteed loss, and then there's 11 very winnable games after that, right? I'm not saying you are going to win all of them. I'm saying they are all winnable. Now you got to attack it for at least the first few weeks without a starting left tackle and with questions about your run game. Carolina, the northern version, is got some DTs available to disrupt, and they're going to focus there.
Still,
Georgia is going to eat your lunch.
Yeah, we'll see. Still, my biggest questions are on defense, and is that Will Muschamp taste finally gone? The wow, look, there they go kind of effort, because we saw better effort last year on the defense. Is that stuff finally out the window? I hope so.
So do I. So do I. The attitude element, is very interesting because I think you're right. I think when Will took off, I think there were a lot of Will's guys who were bummed out, and I think that translated to the field.
Well, when he was there, they didn't play with the kind of effort that we got to see the players play underneath the present coach. And just the thought of Muschamp, once I start thinking about it, I cannot get him out of my head. And the kind of just so many times they were in games and the effort left. And there was a couple times last year that I still saw that. I think it's hard to make it go completely away in 1 year, but Shane Beamer is really, really working at that.
So the first thing that I say is a requirement for a successful football program. And I mean this at every level, from the National Football League all the way on down to Mighty Might Pee Wee League. The number one most the number one requirement for a successful team is a great culture, and a culture that your guys buy into. I use the illustration of the NFL all the time. The Kansas City Chiefs are the best team in football right now. Is there a specific, unique, and bought into culture under Andy Reid in Kansas City? Yes. And the guys who don't buy fully in, Tyreek, find themselves playing somewhere else, less successfully. You go down to college ball. Alabama. Is there a unique and successful and bought into culture in Tuscaloosa? Oh, hell yeah. Is there one under Ryan Day at Ohio State? Yup. Is there one under Kirby Smart at Georgia? Yup. And if you're in any way, shape, or form plugged into college football, you know that. You know those cultures. You know those coaches and what those cultures mean. You know it. You got to have it. That is why when I see Shano popping up Instagram reels of him and his boys reenacting scenes from The Office in front of a radar device out front of Willie B, I laugh my ass off. Not because it's funny, it is. But because if you got some guys in the club that see that and think that's hilarious and love that and buy in, you're building a culture. That is why when we had friend of the radio broadcast, Shane Beamer, on the show, and Lonzo asked him about the sunglasses and the dancing in the locker room, what did he do? He laughed. And then he talked about it. I love that. Because it's not just, you see a lot of coaches that they'll kind of like act like the fun guy in the locker room when the cameras are on. But then you hear the horror stories about them being jerks behind the scenes. You get that impression from Shane Beamer?
No.
Nope. You get that impression from Dabo Swinney? Nope, I don't. Because they understand the importance of culture building. But here's the other aspect. Here's the other angle. You can have the best culture in the world, but if you got no talent, you're going to lose football games. You can take an above average team with great culture, and you can beat a great team with no culture. But you can't take a team with great culture and no talent and beat a team with no culture and great talent. These injuries stack up. Guys transfer out of South Carolina. Things are going to have to be addressed. Lonzo, I like 9-3 for the Gamecocks this year. I think they drop one to Georgia. I think they drop a maybe game, which I'm including is South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas A&M, and Clemson. And then they either drop one more maybe or they drop a stupid-ass game like Missouri again. But I think 9-3 is reasonable. So if before I got here 3 years ago, somebody would have said, hey, Zoe, you're going to be working on the radio in 3 years with a guy who says the Gamecocks are a potential 10-2 team, you wouldn't have hired me. You'd been like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about.
I disagree because I remember when the Gamecocks were putting out those kind of records.
Right, but not 3 years ago.
No, that's true. We were still mired in that.
Correct. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute, got a few more things that I want to get to on the radio broadcast. Maybe a little look at the Stanley Cup playoffs, perhaps, because we're into the second round, and it was great even on night number one. We'll talk about that. I got some more mean things to say about Rob Manfred. I always do. That's always true, but specifically this time. And we'll set you up for tonight's NBA action. All that and more coming up on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate.
I'm making myself get up and go every hour. It hurts less.
Potentially get a payroll tax refund of $26,000 per employee. GetRefunds.com. GetRefunds.com.
In my job, I never held back. I played hurt and I pushed through the pain. Sound familiar?
Football legend Emmitt Smith had a reputation for just grinding through the injuries and pain over and over. That may be you. And QC Kinetics sees patients every day who are exhausted from dealing with the persistent pain.
A lot of you work physically demanding jobs. You stand, you climb, you bend down, you reach up. And if you have joint pain, it takes all you got to earn a living. But it's time you know about QC Kinetics.
QC Kinetics, the leaders in regenerative treatments, help relieve that debilitating joint pain without surgeries or downtime. These are natural solutions that use your body's own healing properties to give you lasting relief from the soreness and achiness.
You got a job to do. I get it. But now you don't have to suffer through the pain. Check out my friends over at QC Kinetics.
Call QC Kinetics, 864-448-3772. That's 864-448-3772. 864-448-3772. Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship finally debuts in Greenville.
Looks like it's everybody on that email that are on air under him.
Sponsored by InvisibleFence.com. InvisibleFence brand gives your pets the freedom to enjoy their yard and you the confidence in your decision. With a 99% success rate on money-back performance guarantee and financing options, you can feel confident that both your pet and your investment are protected. Visit InvisibleFence.com.
Unique and unlike any other sports talk show. It's BetMGM Tonight, Monday through Friday from 7 to 11, only on the Fan
Upstate.
BetMGM Tonight is the red zone for casual and hardcore sports fans. Live sports betting updates for all of the night's games as they happen. Get the latest scores, sides, totals, props, parlays, futures, and much more with hosts Quentin Mayo, Trista Crick, and Brian Horvath. Real-time, relevant sports wagertainment tonight at 7. BetMGM tonight, exclusively on the Fan and on the Odyssey app. More than the scores, real sports talk.
The Rob Brown Show continues. It is the Fan Upstate. I am Rob Brown. He is the great one, Lonzo. 844-326-3663. That is the Gilstrap Family Dealerships.com phone line. If you'd like to get on the air with us today, you are certainly welcome to do it. Earlier this week, Ron Rivera was doing an interview on the Fan, 106.7 The Fan in Washington, D.C. And he was asked a question about, obviously, the Washington Commanders, bum. And he referred to, well, he called Daniel Snyder and Tanya Snyder, his wife, the, quote, former ownership of the team. Now, it is no secret that the process to sell the team is underway, and I think the majority of NFL fans are very happy to see potentially the worst owner in sports, Dan Snyder, get gone, get got. Bye, later. But to have your head coach before that sale is completed, before there is a new owner, refer to the current owner as former ownership is hilarious to me. And now we pretty much know the NFL is going to push it through. Why? Because now Ron Rivera is not the only team official who has had something to say about it. During an appearance on CNBC's Last Call yesterday, the president of the team, Jason Wright, was doing an interview with Brian Sullivan. He said, quote, "This is a historic franchise with a 90-year history. People that love this team. We've already seen some of that business momentum come back. When the process was announced last November, we sold what we would normally sell in a full season in annual suites. We made that in a week after we announced the sale. There's anticipation of this franchise returning to what it once was. People are willing to jump back into business with us, whether that's sponsors, suite holders, and others. We've now built an organization that can absorb that momentum." Now, here's the fun part. The demographics of those buying all these tickets are not just the wealthy fans, the socialites, the folks who go to games to see them be seen. Since Snyder bought the Commanders in 1999, the team's local standing has dwindled around the area, according to YahooSports.com. They say, quote, "A fan base that was once the largest and most loyal in the league is now often outnumbered by opposing NFC East fans at FedEx Field. Meanwhile, scandal has plagued the team for years with 2 separate NFL investigations and a congressional inquiry," end quote. The Commanders were once ranked as the most valuable franchise in the most valuable of leagues. They are now 6th in the NFL. The value has gone up as a whole, but it has not gone up relative to the other teams. It's gone down relative to pretty much the rest of the NFL as a whole at this point. Dan Snyder set to sell the Commanders for a record $6 billion to a group led by Josh Harris, who also owns the 76ers of the NBA and the New Jersey Devils of the NHL. The sale is in process, but it's in the NFL's hands now. Lonzo, do you think that the president of the group coming out and telling the NFL we have sold more season tickets, more annual suite packages in a week after Dan Snyder was announced as selling the team than we did in an entire year before that, might just be the catalyst for the NFL to pull the trigger and get Dan Snyder the hell out of there finally?
Could be. Also, it's a good move on their part to make sure they released. That's what you're saying. It's a catalyst. They're doing that to try to get this thing pushed through so they can move on. And you got to believe as an organization, whatever's going to happen, you want this to happen soon so you can see what things are going to be like on the other side of this.
Yep.
Because who are they answering to? They're still answering to Snyder, right?
For now.
Yeah. So, and if he's going to be gone like in the middle of the summer, wouldn't you rather he be gone now so you can get acclimated to whoever the new owners are and their way of thinking and way of doing things?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Look, I'm going to count it as a net positive that Dan Snyder is going to be gone. I'm going to count it as a very good thing for the National Football League that he is out. But just so we're all on the same page here, I am not going to pat the NFL on the back for approving this sale. They are not going to get congratulations and compliments from me. Because this is a step we never should have gotten to. Dan Snyder should have been pushed out of the league a number of years ago. And the only reason he wasn't is because for a while, the Commanders remained profitable despite a massive falling off of fans. But now we are finding out that the Commanders have lost value relative to other NFL franchises. They very clearly lost some level of fan support because if what the president is telling us is correct, in that they sold as many corporate and personal sponsorships in a week after the announcement of the sale than they did in a year before that. The only reason the NFL is finally letting this or pushing this through is because of the almighty dollar. That is, well, frankly, wildly disappointing. Get to a couple more stories before we get up out of here. NHL Stanley Cup playoffs continue on. The Seattle Kraken won 5-4 over the Dallas Stars yesterday. Both of the upstarts, the Florida Panthers and the Kraken, got game one dubs. But here's what's interesting about the Kraken, who, by the way, are in their second year of existence and are on their way. Joe Pavelski plays for the Dallas Stars. He scored not one goal, not two goals, not three goals. Pavelski put the puck in the net 4 times. Oh, by the way, Joe Pavelski has not played since missing the majority of the first round on concussion protocol. Pavelski scored 4 goals. But he's a Dallas Star. His 4 goals weren't good enough. The Kraken blitzed the Stars, had a 4-goal first period, and got the OT winner from Yanni Gordy at 12:17 in the first overtime. The Seattle Kraken ain't no joke, man. They ain't no joke. They got rocked. They allowed the Stars to come back. They allowed the Stars to tie it up late, and then they finished them. I love this team. I love this team, and I love Matthew Tkachuk and his Florida Panthers as well. The Toronto Maple Leafs fans were up in arms for game one, as they should be. It's been about 7,000 years since the Toronto Maple Leafs made it out of the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. They went up against a team that you'd have every right to bet against them. The Florida Panthers scraped to get into the last spot in the playoffs. The Florida Panthers had to take the Boston Bruins, the best regular season team in the history of the National Hockey League, to overtime in Game 7 to get by. They should be beaten up, bruised up, sore, exhausted. The Panthers absolutely should have expected an L, and the Maple Leafs should have absolutely expected a dub in game one, but that ain't what happened. The Florida Panthers got it done. 4-2 in game number 1 of the second round series. Kachuk and co were phenomenal. Kachuk registered 3 assists, 9 hits, and along with his primary line mates, Nick Cousins and Sam Bennett, controlled the first and second scores, the first and second periods. 74.5% of the expected goals at 5-on-5 went the way of Florida. Here's what I love about this team and what I love about the Kraken. These teams beat you 5-on-5. These teams are not waiting for power plays to attack. They are trusting their keepers. Bob Bobrovsky has been good, and they are trusting their keepers at this point. They are attacking at this point. They are sending guys forward in the 5-on-5. They are not worrying about the counter because they are controlling the pace of play. They're controlling the puck. If you are not a hockey fan, watch the Cats and watch the Kraken because they're old school NHL teams. They are going to throw guys forward. They are going to play very physically. They are going to trust their keeper against blitzes. They're going to put you in the boards. They're going to control the pace of the game. They're going to keep it at their speed, not yours. These two teams are fun to watch play. They just are. They just are. And finally, we get you set up for tonight's NBA action on a day where Joel Embiid is announced as your NBA MVP. It is also announced that he will return to the team's starting lineup tonight. Joel Embiid is expected to go tonight at 8 o'clock when the Sixers and the Celtics get it going in game number 2. Philly leads this series 1-0 with the victory back in game 1, but Vegas prefers Boston at home in this one. They are 7-point favorites with an over-under set at 216. I'm going to make this very, very simple for you. James Harden played in game 1 like he was Houston Rockets James Harden. Like he was good James Harden all over again. He cannot pull back off of that because Embiid is there. Harden has to continue to attack the rack. He's got to draw defenders and open the floor up for Joel Embiid. If he does that, they're good. On the flip side, Jason Tatum has to take over. Jaylen Brown's there too, and I know that they're a great 1-2 punch. But here's the thing about a 1-2 punch. With 1-2 punches in the NBA very frequently, what you will see is you will end up seeing one team finding themselves, or one guy in the 1-2 punch, not having a great start to the game. So what do? They want to become a role player. I'm going to let my guy take over. That's my dude. That's not how it works. He is a great player because you're a 1-2 punch. The jab is not a great punch because it's a power punch. The jab is a great punch because when you're looking for the jab and then pow, they come with that right hook. Now that right hook's more devastating because they're working the defense on the jab because you're getting them. And then whack, over the top comes the right hook and you go night-night. Jason Tatum has to take over in this game. Tatum and Brown have to both attack. They both have to attack aggressively and consistently. Both of these guys got to go get 30. You can't have one or the other get 30. You got to both get 30. And then you got to hope somebody picks up the slack somewhere else. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up the show. My name is Rob Brown. The great Malonzo's on the other side of the board. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to The Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Six and forced 10 groundouts in his longest start of the season. Ryan Mount Mountcastle hit a pair of 2-run homers in consecutive innings as the Orioles beat the Royals 11-7 in Kansas City. Mountcastle had 5 RBI. Anthony Rutschman had 4 hits and drove in a run. The Orioles have wins in 16 of their last 20. The Nationals beat the Cubs 4-1. Alex Call hit a 2-run double during a 3-run 7th. C.J. Abrams had the tie-breaking RBI single in the 7th off Keegan Thompson. Stanley Cup playoffs tonight. Game 1, Hurricanes and Devils in Raleigh. Fan Upstate is your home for Furman Paladin sports all year long. Download the Odyssey app, search the Fan Upstate, and listen anywhere on your phone. I'm Chuck Sanders with the Sports Flash on the Fan Upstate.
I'm Bridget Condon with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. The Packers signed Jordan Love to a one-year extension through 2024, according to NFL Network insider Tom Pelissero. Instead of picking up Love's fifth-year option, which would have included $1.3 million guaranteed, Green Bay handed their franchise quarterback a one-year extension worth $13.5 million guaranteed, but can be worth up to $22.5 million incentives. More from Pelissero, the Bills signed defensive tackle Leonard Ford to a one-year deal. Ford, who spent 5 seasons with the Seahawks, had 3 sacks last season. The Giants picked up a 5th-year option on offensive tackle Andrew Thomas. Thomas, who was the 4th overall pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, was named second team All-Pro in 2022 by the Associated Press. He's now under contract.
Thank you, Stephen.
This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. At Total Wine and More,
Thank you, Stephen. Appreciate you, buddy.
Get up to 35% off over 100 different wines and spirits, including Cabernet, sparkling wine, single barrel bourbon, and so much more.
Pretty woman, yeah, yeah.
They're on top of prices that are already the lowest in town. Deals this good don't last long.
Roy Orbison or Van Halen? Pretty one.
Van Halen. I'm a Roy Orbison fan, though. I mean, he could hit notes that were amazing. Like in Crying. That's awesome song. Jericho is angry because Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Iron Maiden didn't get in again.
Who is going in this year? Do we have a list?
We do, but I've taken it down. We talked about it this week about the nominees. I didn't realize because we do it every year on the show.
AutoZone's free Fix Finder service is here. Get the most complete free warning light report and backed by technician verified fixes. Only at AutoZone. See details at AutoZone.com. Wendy's $3 breakfast deal is a bacon or sausage egg croissant plus small seasoned potatoes for $3.
Okay, Kate Bush got in, Sheryl Crow got in, Missy Elliott.
Kate Bush got to thank Stranger Things.
Yes, she does. George Michael, Willie Nelson, Rage Against the Machine, Spinners. And then there's some other ones that got in, but it was DJ Kool Herc. No idea who that is. Link Ray got in. Shaka Khan got in. Al Cooper. Bernie Taupin, who, if I recall, is the co-writer for most of Elton John songs. And then Don Cornelius got it.
Don Cornelius.
Soul Train. Yeah, the thing is, I can't think of any other Kate Bush songs other than Running Up That Hill. But there are certain parameters that they have to hit. It's like 25 years and a bunch of stuff. So still, Willie Nelson does not belong in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He's got his own Hall of Fame, the Country Hall of Fame.
I've been to it. It's great.
Yeah.
It's
I think if you've got your own Hall of Fame, you don't need to be in that. I don't even think Billy Joel would say it's still rock and roll to me because it's not. It's country. I couldn't remember if Willie Nelson wasn't in the Traveling Wilburys, was he?
No.
I wouldn't consider them rock either, but they're closer to rock than they are country.
I'd say they're rock. I think there's some room for Americana in there.
You know, Rob, a sports guy could not have the conversation we just had on the stream.
Which is available at facebook.com/thefanupstate, twitter.com/thefanupstate, on YouTube by searching and subscribing to the Fan Upstate and the Rob Brown Show on Twitch. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame announcements are out. You guys do it on Upstate Pulse, but I think we do it on this show pretty much every year too. Tell me who again was in. Kate Bush is in, which she can thank Stranger Things for, because they went with Running Up That Hill as kind of the song du jour of season 3, and it skyrocketed that song up on the Spotify playlist. But who else got in?
Let's see. Sheryl Crow.
Okay. I'd say Sheryl Crow's rock and roll.
Missy Elliott. Not rock and roll.
Yeah.
George Michael. Rock and pop. I mean, there is no pop Hall of Fame, I don't think so. I kind of get it. Willie Nelson. No. I mean, no. He's not country. I mean, he is country. He's not rock and roll. Rage Against the Machine. Yes. The Spinners. I mean, Rubber Band Man. I don't think was a rock song. It was a pop song, R&B pop. I don't know. So the one that doesn't fit out of all those is Willie Nelson.
I think we're kind of to the point where the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is just the Music Hall of Fame now, right? Just the Music Hall
Well,
of Fame.
then just call it that.
I don't know. I get like rock and roll takes its roots
From R&B and
R&B,
from
jazz,
gospel
from
blues, yeah.
And I would argue so did country, and I would argue so did hip hop. It's all one big family tree. And I get it. Like, I get the point. It all comes from the same place. It all has the same origin. So you kind of contain it under one family. And the fact that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is kind of...
Do they have a country wing? I don't know. I haven't been, because you have to go to Cleveland, but
Sir Drew Carey told me Cleveland rocks.
He did. And he's
calling Drew Carey
sing
a
it well.
liar?
No, because Drew Carey is I love Drew Carey.
A great Ohioan.
And Huey Lewis said the heart of rock and roll is in Cleveland. So I mean it's two sources right there, so it must be true.
I don't know. I mean, I get it. Like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Like I've been to the Country Music Hall of Fame in Nashville. It's an incredible experience if you're a country music fan.
But there's one band going into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that's rock and roll, and that would be Rage Against the Machine. And nobody else is really rock and roll. I mean, this is not going to be, the concerts are usually pretty good with some celebrity, other artists filling in and doing songs for, I don't know about this year. There's no one I'm really looking forward to.
And now the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter Trending Topics.
What I am looking forward to is Twitter Trending Topics. The first thing that's trending is John Jones.
So John Bones Jones says that he is thinking about retiring, calling it a career after his fight with Stipe Miocic. Unless Francis Ngannou comes back to the UFC, which
it's not going to happen.
I ain't banking on it.
Because Ngannou, I think, signed with a lesser.
He did.
Yeah.
He did.
Pro Fighting League. I think,
that being said, you got to wonder if now I don't know what Ngannou's contract with them looks like, right? Is it because a lot of guys will sign contracts for X amount of fights, not years, right? Like I signed a 5-fight contract or a 7-fight contract. If he signed one for like 3 or 4 fights, maybe he's intrigued enough to come back, and you've got to assume that Dana would see the cash falling from the sky for a John Jones, assuming he beats Stipe Miocic.
Yeah, that's a big assumption.
If he beats Stipe and then Francis comes back, that's a money printing machine right there. That being said, I also kind of wonder if this isn't John Jones trying to build up the purse a little bit by, hey guys, this is the last time you're ever going to see me when I fight Stipe. By calling out Ngannou, either he creates probably the highest paying UFC fight of all time, or he drives more money to this one for people who want to make sure they see his last fight.
Well, I'm buying it because I believe in you, Stipe. You can do it. You can finally make my dream come true, and someone can beat John Jones while I'm watching. All right, the next thing, I usually stay away from this stuff, but Vladimir Putin is trending.
So I don't know if this is the reason why, but I saw this morning that Russia is claiming that Ukraine made a bona fide effort on his life.
There's video.
Is there?
Oh yeah, 2 drones, and there's video, and of the Kremlin. You can look it up, and it shows the drones trying to hit the Kremlin, and there are explosions, but apparently the Kremlin has a pretty good defense.
You know that old phrase, I trust you as far as I can throw you? I trust the Kremlin less than that. It's Russia. They are literally the world's probably second most impactful propaganda machine. I'm not saying it didn't happen.
Watch the video. I mean, whether it's real or not, it looks pretty spectacular.
Sure. I don't trust Russia's propaganda arm. They're not great people, like as a whole. And I will simply say that while I wish death upon no man, I read certain obituaries with less sadness than others.
They got Vlad trending, though. The next thing is trending is Randall Cobb.
Randall Cobb. Yes, that Randall Cobb just signed a contract with the Jets
And
to play football.
Who's surprised?
With Aaron Rodgers.
Who's surprised? I mean, come on.
I am in that it's Randall Cobb.
Yeah, but that's his guy. I mean, I appreciate.
He's only 32. He ain't ancient.
Yeah, I appreciate loyalty and having some familiar pieces around you to go with the other stuff. I don't think it's it's just a 1-year contract.
Can I tell you how offended I am that a dude on Twitter earlier posted a picture of Jessica Alba at last night's basketball game and said, "Y'all hear me out." Like he just discovered that Jessica Alba is one of the finest women on the planet. Like Jessica Alba ain't been that woman for a lot of us since like 2002.
By the way, no, for decades.
2002 was 2 decades ago.
It is. No, even before that, though. I mean, she still looks the same, basically.
My man posted a short clip of Jessica Alba and said, "Y'all hear me out." Like this young buck is just discovering a woman that guys my age have been in love with since we were teenagers.
40s, at least, you think? 40s?
Jessica Alba?
Yeah, 40s.
I'm going to say she's in her early 40s.
I'm going to go 44.
42.
42.
Yeah,
okay,
that's about right.
Yeah.
Y'all, we've been in love with Jessica Alba since, like, you young bucks. Y'all don't even know. Y'all don't even know. That's it for us. Have a good rest of your day. Don't drink and drive. I'll punch you in the face. We'll see you back here tomorrow to do it all over again, but better on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
Well, yeah, he's going to punch you in the foot.
Texter said, maybe if the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame did admit 5 to 7 people or bands every year for a genre that's only 70 years old, they wouldn't be down to the New Kids on the Block and Milli Vanilli.
Nick and Milli Vanilli's not getting in. I don't know why.
Correct.
It's got a sneaky suspicion.
Living on the rain. Guys, thanks for watching. You're all amazing people. We appreciate it greatly, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. Have a lovely rest of your day. Goodbye.